Amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals. But I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama, I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Keep a little talking to, man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is you over 30 years ago.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
And this is your mom when you drive her back from therapy.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Roles change without us noticing, and in your new role, we help you help. AARP gives you the information to help care for your mom so that you can have patience with her, just like she did with you. Visit aarp.org/caregiving or call 1-877-333-5885 to get practical health and wellness tips to provide even better care for your loved one.
Are we there yet?
Remember, visit aarp.org/caregiving. AARP, we help you help. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What are you talking about?
No, it's not him. There is only one more. There is only one more. That's it. One more.
Get a rest!
No!
They saw your team put up zero effort.
Wake up!
Remember in the old days, they used to have oxygen for them. Where's the oxygen?
Play like absolute just garbage.
This is the Sports Loudmouths.
Yay!
Man, can you keep it down? I'm trying to introduce here. With Errol Marks and Speedy Beatty.
You're not even a has-been. You're a never was. You're a never was. You're a never was.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? As you know, this is the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks. My co-host, Speedy Petey. Remember, you can listen to our show every single Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. You can call us at 672-3108. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app on iOS, WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Speedy, what's going on, man?
Well, I'm certainly a lot better than I was on Sunday, to put it that way. Definitely feeling a lot better now. Good energy. And shout out to my grandmother who turned 80 yesterday, 80th birthday. So happy late birthday to her.
88.
Yes, not 88.
88.
But a lot of eights. Yes, a lot of eights.
Do you want to sing happy birthday to her?
Happy birthday.
Don't sing, please.
All right.
What do you want to try to scare people away? It's enough right now going into the crazy weekend in sports here in New York and throughout the country with all the crazy stuff that's going on. But there's a lot to get into. At 9:30, we'll be talking to former NFL receiver, Emmy Award winner for Searching for the Summit, Mark Pattison. He'll be joining us. And at 10 o'clock, we'll be talking to Cowboys and Sons play-by-play broadcaster, Kevin Ray. He will be joining us as well. Kevin hasn't been on the show for a while.
Yeah, he was one of the first guests.
Yeah, so, and Kevin loved to come on our show. We had a little bit of fun with him, the little crazy questions that we asked him. But
at the time, you were thinking Devin Booker was going to be traded. Now it's a lot different outlook.
Well, after getting that $200 million contract, after getting the extension that he did, I think worth about 170.
Yeah.
Now he got a $225 million contract. So I don't think Devin Booker is going anywhere.
Nah, well, since the last time we had him on, the Suns have made the NBA Finals and had a 66-win season. So
66-win season and got knocked off by the Dallas Mavericks.
Well, yeah.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful for the great Phoenix Suns. Anyways, what we're going to get into is Kevin Durant tells the Nets either fire Sean Marks and Steve Nash or trade me. So Kevin Durant making demands, not surprising at all. Mekhi Becton gets hurt again. He is out for the season on the IR or the IL, whatever you want to call it, injured reserve. So the New York Jets will be looking for another right tackle. So that'll be interesting. Quan Smith demands a trade from the Bears. Well, obviously he sees the team being that bad, so why not? The Knicks looking to facilitate a three-way trade with the Jazz and Lakers involving Donovan Mitchell and Russell Westbrook. We'll see what happens with that. The Yankees lose Matt Carpenter with a foot fracture, continues to struggle with injuries. That would be the Yankees. So, but Giancarlo is on his way back. Rizzo should be back soon. So, losing Carpenter is a significant loss because he was one of the hotter hitters for the New York Yankees. So, but we'll see. He says he's going to play again this year. So he probably will be back by the end of the season if he does play. Chris Sale breaks his wrist in biking accident, likely done for the season. So good luck to the Boston Red Sox. Yeah. Anyways, so why don't we get into Mekhi Becton? Because it seems like Mekhi is out. And if you're a New York Jet fan sitting here today and you're wondering, well, what are the New York Jets going to do at right tackle? Well, they've got quite a few options. And the one option was on the day after Mekhi Becton gets hurt, well, before Mekhi Becton gets hurt, they invited Dwayne Brown to come to the white and green event that the Jets hold every single year. I know a lot of people that went there, including, yes, Jake Asman. He was there. So, but Dwayne Brown actually came and actually looked and checked out the New York Jets as a whole over there in their white and green competition or whatever practice. So I believe by the end of the week, Dwayne Brown will be signed by the New York Jets. I think that's where the Jets were looking at, and they were trying to bring in a backup to the right tackle position because they were not sure if Font or Mekhi Becton was going to stay healthy. They lost a couple of tackles really early in the beginning of this process. So they lost Max Mitchell, who is their young rookie that they drafted in the 4th round. He could be back sometime early this season, but Losing him was a significant loss because he's going to have no OTAs. He's going to have no practices or preseason. So that's going to hurt the kid in his development. Losing Mekhi Becton is a significant loss after losing McDermott for a certain amount of time. I think McDermott could miss a piece of the season as well. So the Jets have lost 3 bona fide tackles before even preseason started. And this is the same thing that happened to the Jets last year when they lost Carl Lawson before anything started. Now, it isn't the left tackle position. It isn't George Font. Now, George Font had a sensational year. He's one of the top 12 tackles in all of football. He has so far stayed healthy. He lost a little bit of weight. He looks pretty damn good. But losing a right tackle of this magnitude, especially rebuilding this offensive line that the way the Jets did in the offseason, adding Laken Tomlinson, obviously Elijah Vera played sensational last year, especially in the second half. And McGovern coming back, who has been injury prone for the New York Jets since he's come to the team. I think that when you're sitting here today, a lot of Jet fans are thinking, is this the end of Mekhi Becton? Is this the end of his era of the big ticket? My answer would be no. And the reason why I don't believe Mekhi Becton is going to be gone is because the Jets still have control of him for the next 2 years. And when you think of that, especially with the injuries he's had, in 2 years from now, even if he stays healthy next year, nobody is going to give him a long-term extension. Nobody's going to give him $20 million or $25 million a year. So the Jets, if Mekhi Becton shows the Jets next year that he's healthy, he's lost weight, he looks good, the Jets could sign him on the cheap. So does this benefit the Jets? Only time will tell. But there's no way the Jets are going to just drop a first-round number 11 pick a couple of years ago because of an injury. We sit here today, and we have seen this before with the New York Jets. The Jets have lost quality players over the years, which has cost the Jets possibly an 8 or 9 win season. Now, Mekhi Becton is a right tackle. It is an important position. Is it as important as the left tackle position or a pass rushing position or even a star corner position? The answer would be no. But to sit here today and say, well, the Jets are still in good shape, well, then you guys are imagining something of a fairy tale. Now, is Dwayne Brown the answer? He's 37 years old. He was a Pro Bowl player last year for Seattle. He has been a Pro Bowl player in his career, at least I think 4 or 5 times. Mm-hmm. Could be a borderline Hall of Famer. But he's 37 years old. And last year he played the left tackle position for Seattle. Moving to the right tackle position, I think he can figure out. It's still a significant move for him. And going to an offensive line that has some youngsters and some veterans. Really only, I think, one youngster now, Elijah Vera Tucker. McGovern's a veteran. Laken Tomlinson's a veteran. Font is a veteran. So if he goes over there, there's just really one rookie or one second-year player on that line, which is an extraordinary guard for the New York Jets. But losing Mekhi Becton, no Jet fan could sit here today and say, this is a good thing. Now, I listened to what CJ said on Weapons Hot. I've listened to plenty of people talk about Mekhi Becton, how this was his year. I was one of them. That this was going to be a year where we're going to see the big ticket back into the games, show up in the games, play hard in the games, and moving him to the right tackle position was only going to make him better. Now losing him for back-to-back seasons is a significant loss. And we all know that Robert Saleh and his coaching staff weren't big fans of Mekhi. They weren't. A matter of fact, they were thinking about, at the 4th pick, drafting an offensive tackle. But they didn't. They trusted that George Font was going to move to the left tackle position, and they believed that Mekhi Becton was going to fit over there at the right tackle position. He was going to play well this year. So, is this the end of the season for the New York Jets? My answer is no. It's not Carl Lawson. I knew when the Jets lost Carl Lawson last year, and that was their big acquisition. Everything that we read about Carl Lawson in obviously OTAs and how fast he was and how good he looked, losing him so early before the preseason was a significant, huge loss. But right now, I think the Jets are still capable of winning 8 or 9 games, even without Mekhi, Speedy.
Short term, they have the time now to be able to maneuver the depth. Dwayne Brown is the start of it, and you're right, 5-time Pro Bowl player. He's been mostly a left tackle in his career, but I don't think he'll have any trouble transferring to right tackle if that's the case. And Font also played right tackle too, so if Brown wants to play left tackle, if they think he works better there, it might be good. Long term is where it's definitely concerning for somebody of Mekhi Becton's body type, because you remember, out of the draft, we were all saying Mekhi Becton was a great prospect because of his speed for his size too, the way he moved, the way he ran for his size too, and maybe all those, the way he's being used got caught up to him for somebody of his size. Now, multiple knee injuries. He also had a foot injury in his career now. Somebody with that kind of, they want to use for that kind of movement, it might be harder for them down the road. Now, I'm with you. I don't think they should just pull the plug on Mekhi Becton, but it might come to the point where they might have to use him more as a guard rather than a tackle, because you don't have to move around as much too. And also something worth experimenting.
How are they going to move him? How are they going to move him? You have now Laken Tomlinson, who's there for 4 years. And now you also have Elijah Vera Tucker, who he's your young player. You don't want to projectively move him to the right tackle position because he is so comfortable playing that right guard position or left guard position. So you don't want to shift him. So why would you do that? It doesn't make sense why you would put Mekhi as a guard. It doesn't make sense.
I just worry with the movement, how he'll come back. If he doesn't come back and not able to move the same for his size, because you lose a lot of speed when you have all those leg injuries too. It's a brutal position to play, and it's a tackle.
Well, he's the right tackle. He's not the left tackle.
Fair. But also keep in mind that that scheme has a lot of outside zone stuff with Mike LaFleur, that Kyle Shanahan type offense. And that was a big reason that Mekhi Becton was supposed to take that big leap, because it fit what he does very well. So I don't know if he brings that same kind of thing. I also think, though, too, it doesn't hurt to try it now. Elijah Vera Tucker is another guy that moves very well. Why not try him as a tackle either? I don't think it hurts to try it now, younger in his development, rather than forcing it on him later in the season.
I think you trust the fact that that kid understands where he is and what his role is as a Jet. And I would not shift him to the right tackle position. I think you bring in a veteran tackle that can help the line out automatically. Because right now, you put Elijah Vera Tucker there, you're going to have those games where he doesn't know the position. He doesn't know where to be at the position, which could cause problems and could cause your quarterback to get hurt. You cannot put the Jets or their quarterback in position to get hurt, especially early in the season. So I would not do that. I would keep Elijah Vera Tucker where he is, bring in a veteran tackle, let the veteran tackle take over the season, and then decide what you're doing with Mekhi. And Jeff says Becton is the biggest problem. His biggest problem is his weight, being that he's heavy, puts too much stress on his knees. It's why Tyler always sits down. That's what he says.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying, because Becton moved around so well for his height in his rookie season. That's why he was so good. He was a Pro Bowl level type player his rookie season, but since then has had trouble with those injuries, multiple knee injuries, and a foot injury too. So I worry about him long term, about what he'll end up coming back as, and that's why I'm saying his best track to even just stay on the team might just be as a guard. And again, Dwayne Brown is probably going to be the short-term solution as a right tackle, because you're right, Max Mitchell, undisclosed injury, he got hurt, and Connor McDermott's probably going to miss a couple weeks, so it's going to be hard for him to work into the starting lineup. So Brown likely is going to be that, along with Vera Tucker and Tomlinson.
They might even bring another tackle as well. It might not just be Dwayne Brown. There's a couple of tackles that could become available. Obviously, as the preseason keeps on going, there's going to be players dropped, significant players. There could be good tackles that could become available. So the Jets have to be careful on what they give Dwayne Brown, because Dwayne Brown's only going to get a year contract, but also you want to make sure that you can possibly bring in a tackle maybe for 1 or even 2 years, where it doesn't affect your salary cap next year when you're looking for free agents. So that's going to be something that the Jets are going to have to look at, because you don't want to put them in position where they could fail in the future. It won't matter who they get replace Becton. It's still the Jets, and whatever.
It's not
maybe
gonna
that's true.
It's not going to be the same level as what Becton would have brought if he was healthy. But again, they still want something that is going to be serviceable for a starting right tackle, because they got 3 spots on that line that are good. And George Fant, if he plays as well as he did last year,
I think they have 4. I
lot.
think McGovern was one of the top 10 centers in football.
I like McGovern too. He's kind of streaky throughout his career, but
he can't stay healthy.
Yeah,
but when he is in, he's a top 10 center. So he's a quality player. Lincoln Tomlinson is a quality player. George Fant proved that he was a quality player, a top 11 tackle in the league. And Elijah Vera Tucker was one of the best guards in the second half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So you got 4 positions. Now, at that 5th position, they were squeezing Becton in there because they thought that he would become a top end right tackle. But now losing him, you bring in a Dwayne Brown. Dwayne Brown was a Pro Bowl player last year, and he's, I think, a 4 or 5-time Pro Bowler in his career.
Yep.
Yeah, so he is a quality tackle, and it's only really it's a Band-Aid. That's what it is.
Right.
Dwayne Brown will be a Band-Aid for the Jets this year. And I believe putting a veteran in that position for Zach Wilson will only give him an understanding of what the position holds and where he needs to stay, where he needs to be on the strengths of his tackles. Because to me, you're as good as your tackles as a quarterback in this league. If your tackles are quality and they could block for you, you're going to be able to make plays in the open field. They're going to give you time to make plays in the open field.
Carl says stankies. Snug says is butt fumbling an option for the Jets at right tackle. Carl says they don't have a lot of good options, but yes, options. Yeah, but they do have depth though, Carl. They have time to figure it out now. Snug says is EJ Perry eligible to play right tackle? The Jets need to consult with Kenny. He'll know what to do, or maybe Lyle.
Please no.
Yeah, that definitely would work, especially if what Kenny was drinking, what Kenny was smoking last week. Snug says if he's on the cheap,
who
that
knows
means
what
no
he was
one wants
drinking
him.
either. He said it was water.
Allegedly, but yeah, I don't know about that either. Snug says if he's on the cheap, that means no one wants him, right? No, that means he's 37 years old and nobody's going to give him a long-term contract. So,
and first of all, if you know what's going on with Dwayne Brown, he visited not 1, not 2, but 3 different camps. 3 different teams actually invited him to camp. He is going to make his decision on where he wants to play this year. Now, he might decide to go somewhere else. He might decide to play in the other 2 camps that he went to visit. But the Jets invited him to the white and green practice, and everything that we've read is that he was very happy what he saw on the field. So it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's going to take Dwayne Brown an understanding on how this offensive line is going to work. Remember, all off season, the offensive linemen stay in touch. It's like a family.
Mm-hmm.
Being an offensive lineman, you have to know every position, every understanding of what these guys are thinking when that ball gets brought out to the quarterback. So, again, it's probably the offensive line is the most important part of your offense and probably the most important part of your team. And now you're adding a piece to your starting offensive line, your starting rotation, and you don't know what to expect. Now, John Suggs, what are my thoughts to the whole Becton thing? I don't think the Jets is screwed. I don't. Do I think Becton is going to get traded or he's going to be dropped at the end of next season or this season? No. The Jets have control of him for the next 2 years. Why would they do that? It doesn't make sense. You're paying him pennies. Why would you get rid of him?
Yeah, no reason to sell him.
There's no reason. And Joe Douglas is never going to give up a first-round draft pick that he drafted in his first draft. He's not going to do that. He's going to hold on to him. I do not believe he's going to put him at the guard position like Speedy says. I think eventually they're going to try to put him back there at the right tackle position. If he gets hurt again, he's done. His career's over. Nobody's going to bring him back. This is the same knee he hurt last year, just a different injury. So he's practically hurt every single ligament in his knee. It's all reconstructed now. He needs to lose weight. After this surgery, this season, he's going to have to lose a significant amount of weight. I'm talking probably 60, 70 pounds to take the weight off his knees. Because being an offensive lineman, being a tackle, you have to have quick feet. Your feet have to be fast. You have to be able to shift your legs in a certain position, being that you're a 300-pound man. So Becton's going to have to figure out who he is as a player and what he's going to be as a player for the New York Jets. And no, I don't care what Becton's agent is saying and what his team is saying. It doesn't matter. Becton needs to figure out who he is as a player. And if he wants to play in this league and he wants a long career, he needs to figure out how to lose weight.
John says he's going to balloon back to 400 pounds with him with the hurt knee.
That's not necessarily true. He could diet.
Right.
He could diet. Now, the Jets have their own chefs. If I were the New York Jets going into this knee injury, I would send him his own chef and make sure that he is eating properly when he is as they reconstruct his knee. Because you do not want him to go back to 400 pounds and he's going to have to lose 50, 60, 70 pounds, in a 3-month span. He has to go on a diet, a significant diet. And the New York Jets need to be on top of him now and do not wait till after. It would be a big mistake.
Carl says, I'm praying Roquan Smith does not go to the Jets. Promising career would drop. Jeff thinks he is going to Atlanta. Carl says, yeah, Ryan Pace will work out a deal for him. Snuck says, the Jets are the Bermuda Triangle of football, and only Adam Gase understands it. Snuck says, maybe have Zach Wilson to right tackle and bring back Sam Darnold. Jeff says, terrible take, Speedy. I love you, but that's ridiculous. Snug says, it's kind of cruel. The Jets keep drafting kids and injuring them. Snug says, Kenny must
Snug said that?
Yes. The Jets keep drafting kids and injuring them. Snug says if he was smart, he would sign with the Cowboys, win 3 Super Bowls, and play with
Mike
Zeke.
says there was a big tragedy today. What happened today? What was the big tragedy?
All right, Beav, you're going to have to fill us in.
What
on
was the
that.
big tragedy today?
Jeff says, is he being traded to New Orleans, or does that mean they're just both fat? The Saints don't need a tackle. They drafted one.
He's just messing around with the Zion Williamson thing.
I didn't see that one. Yeah.
He's just being a smartass. That's what he is. He's a smartass.
But yeah, John, we're mentioning this with the diet too. Like the Jets were going to probably have him diet anyway, regardless of the injury, just because of the potential weight concerns, even if he didn't have this injury. Because remember, this was a second injury as well, not the injury that he had last year that kept him out all but one game.
All right, let's get the Beav on as quick because we got a guest coming on. Beav, what's going on, man?
What's up, bro? How are you?
We're good, man. What happened?
What happened? I'm disgusted today.
What
Absolutely
happened?
Disgusted. They named Jacob Trooper the captain, obviously. It's a tragedy for the New York Rangers that they named this guy the captain of the team.
That's the
It's a
tragedy? I thought somebody died.
Yeah, really. You made that seem a lot worse than it was.
It is the worst. It's horrible. That guy should not be the captain of the New York Rangers.
Honestly, it doesn't matter who the captain is with that team.
It doesn't make any logical sense to me.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. How many captains have we seen the Rangers have in the last, 12 years? They've had like 4, right?
I know, but still, it should be Kreider. He's the heart and soul of that team.
Well, maybe they think that Kreider won't be a Ranger that long. Remember, Kreider is 31, going to be 32 before the season starts. Maybe they decide, you know what? After this year, they're going to move him. If he has another good season like he did last year, I would have moved him this offseason because you would have gotten a boatload of players for him. Now, if he has like a 30-goal or a 25-goal season, they're not going to get as much for him. So, listen, I don't know what's going to happen, but
he's been there. He's been there since day one. He's been there through the rebuild and everything else, and now you're not going to give this guy the captain. Doesn't make any sense.
I don't think it matters who the captain is when it comes to hockey. It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter when it comes to hockey. I'm just telling you the truth.
You need leadership, and you need somebody, and I don't know. Kreider to me seems like
okay. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever played ice hockey before?
No.
Okay. Have you ever played on a hockey team before?
No.
Okay.
Never played hockey.
I did. Okay. And I was the captain of my team. And I was the assistant captain on many different teams. And hockey, the only time the captain usually speaks to the team is either before the game or during periods. And usually it's the coach speaking, telling him what kind of play he wants to run and how he wants to run it, during each period, offensively and defensively. So honestly, when you sit here and who's calling right now? Hold on. I'm gonna put you both on. Who the heck is this? Hold on. Kenny, what's going on?
What's happening, man?
Who is this? Who are we speaking to?
You're speaking to me, Kenny.
Oh,
Kenny,
God.
the star of the show on Thursday.
There he is. Kenny, what's going on, man? We got a guest coming on.
We have a guest literally that's going to come
you
on.
Want
in
to
a
call?
minute,
You
so
want to call
back.
after?
Okay, yeah. I'll
Call back
listen
at
to
about
your
10:30,
interview.
Kenny.
Okay, call back in 1 hour, you're saying?
Yes.
Fine with me. I'll still be up.
Oh, look at that, Kenny. Just don't drink and don't smoke. Okay? We need you to be.
I've already smoked, so
Oh,
I'll
God,
have energy in
wonderful.
1 hour.
Wonderful. Wax man himself, Kenny.
We can talk about the interview.
Yeah, we'll
I'm
talk
sure
about.
Will
All
be
right.
a good one.
All right, Kenny. Thank you.
I'll call you in 1 hour.
All right, Kenny.
All right, goodbye.
That guy's a funny guy, man. He's a piece of work.
Oh my God.
Anyways, keep listening, Beeve. We'll talk to you soon.
You got it, but it's a big tragedy for New York Rangers.
It's not a tragedy. The Beeve and Kenny, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we'll be talking to former receiver, Emmy Award winner for Searching for the Summit, Mark Pattison, here on the Sports Loudmouth.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. Remember, you're listening to the Sports Loudmouths. We are live every single Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app on iOS, WWSRN or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Well, we were talking about the Jets, so why not get into some football conversation with an ex-NFL player? We are now talking to former NFL receiver, Emmy Award winner for Searching for the Summit, Mark Pattison. Mark, what's going on, bud?
How you doing? Hey, let me ask you this, guys. Where is this show being broadcast? I assume it's the East Coast, correct?
It is New York, my friend, Long Island, New Yorker.
I love that, love that, love that your number one fan, Kenny's out there on standby, ready to jump in when you guys let him in.
Well, he's ready to drink. He's ready to smoke. He's ready to chase geese into the water. So
love it, love it, love it. Love
Wow.
it. I was back in New York in May for the Emmy award-winning show, or the Emmys, and that's when the Searching for the Summit, we won the Best Picture for my Everest climb, and so loved the energy. It was great to be traveling again. It was great to be back in New York City and feeling that energy, like I said, with all the people cruising down the street and going cuckoo. So loved it when I was out there.
I've been to the Sports Emmy Awards, and I didn't go to the Emmy Awards last year, but I experienced it. It's wonderful. You meet so many people at those award shows. The time that I went there, I met Michael Strahan and Alex Rodriguez, and they were some of the hosts of the show. So it was fun, and you get to meet different analysts and sports guys at those industry events. But when I heard that we were getting you on, we were very excited, by the way. So we are talking still to the former NFL receiver, and Emmy Award winner for Searching for the Summit, Mark Pattison. So, Mark, tell us a little bit about your climbing, over the years. I mean, obviously, Everest, I never, ever did that. That is scary. People have died on Mount Everest. Yeah. What was it like climbing Mount Everest? What was it like doing, obviously, a story of Searching the Summit?
Yeah, well, let's back it just a little bit. So I did play in the NFL for 5 years, and very blessed and grateful to have just had my time there. Everybody has a different trajectory, and that was mine. And then life happened, and had kids, and got married, and did all those things. About 10 years ago, I was going through a rough patch in my life. But at the end of the day, we all go through rough patches, and if you have it, it's coming, right? Just the way it is. And so I set out at that time to kind of pull myself out of it, set up a big ass goal. And I said, I want to become the first NFL player to climb the 7 summits. And so the 7 summits, for those of you who don't know, are the highest mountain on each continent. Obviously, we have 7 continents. And so, around the globe I went. It took me almost 10 years to complete that. And so the last one, of course, was Mount Everest. The way that I originally designed this to go was it was by difficulty and experience and learning the ropes and learning how to use my crampons and ice axe and scale up on lines and go over crevasses and fall into them and get out of them, all that kind of stuff. And so, after 10 years, after climbing literally hundreds and hundreds of mountains, not just the 7, of course, but, all the ones I was training on, I finally was ready to take on Mount Everest in 2020. And as we all know, it was March 2020 when I had actually driven out from Sun Valley, Idaho, where I live, to LA, where I was going to launch at the end of March. And about mid-March is when COVID hit. And that's where, if we all go back there and think about it, that's where, every day it got exponentially more crazy. People were dying. We didn't have a vaccine. We didn't know what it was. How we're going to fix this, all these restaurants and shops, everything else started shutting down. And so that got pushed out a year, and things always happen for a reason, I'm convinced. In January of 2021, I got a call from the NFL, and they said, hey, we really want to do a story on your Everest ascent and cover that. And originally, the idea was to cover this. It was going to be 5 to 7 minutes. This was going to be done by NFL 360. And they flew over here to Sun Valley, and they got very involved. They were interviewing myself. They were with Jim Mora, my best friend, who was training with me at the time. Now he's the head coach at UConn. And up and down we went, and they started into this project. And by the end of the whole project, it ended up being a full documentary, 30 minutes, for NFL, which is how they slot those things in on their show, NFL 360. And so anyways, I had no clue when I was climbing, when we were shooting the movie. I did most of the filming up in the mountain because the NFL security had blocked them from coming to Mount Everest because there was a huge COVID outbreak. And so that was shut down. I had no clue that when they put the whole film together, that it would turn out like it did. They called it Searching for the Summit, and somebody in that whole organization submitted it for an Emmy. And I thought that was super cool. We were nominated for Best Picture and Best Cinematography, which is cool because I did a lot of that shooting on the mountain. And then we get there, and I'm hanging out with Mike Tirico and Bob Costas and all those guys. You were just talking about, all the different connections that were there. And the way that the whole configuration was, I didn't get an invite to go there until kind of a few days before because they didn't have a seat because there was all this demand for the last couple of years because of COVID. And so I'm sitting up at the front, and Mike Tirico gets up there and he goes, I can't believe it. Searching for the Summit, NFL 360. You guys are on a roll. That was the 4th one that we won that night. And I got up there. I'm standing on stage by myself, until the other guys, the producers and everybody else. It was just amazing to be, again, in front of Bob Costas and Leslie Visser and all these people for years and years and years I've seen up on stage. And, I was there collecting probably the biggest prize there is of the night. Of course, there's editing and sound, and they're all important and they're all matter. But to get the best picture is pretty damn cool. And so I've got a big ass statue of the Emmy coming my way here pretty soon.
Awesome. Congratulations on that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All the feats, everything with the 7 summits. That's amazing.
Your whole career, too,
Yeah.
as an NFL player. 5 years is still a long time in the NFL. An average NFL player only plays 3 years. You played 5.
Yeah, I want to go back and address something else that you said too, because this is one of the crazy things. We can go as deep as you want to go on Mount Everest, but in 2019, I was in Antarctica. Like, who goes to Antarctica, right? Except for penguins. And so I'm down there, and there's a mountain called Mount Vinson, and Vinson is the highest point on Antarctica. It's just crazy. Like, just the adventure of getting there is a whole nother story. But there's a guy that was my tent mate and my hotel mate when we first landed in Chile. This place called Punta Arenas was where we took a plane from point A to point B to land on the ice in Antarctica. And so we got to know each other. We're tent mates, like I said, for 3 weeks, and climbed the mountain. We got down, and during that time on that climb, he wasn't very strong and he struggled a lot. But at the end of the day, he did make it. So congrats on that. 3 months later, he was going to go from he was going to fly back to his hometown in Salt Lake City, and then go from Salt Lake City over to Everest and take that on. He won with a low-cost carrier expedition team, over there. He got up there, was there 2 months, just like I was. And he ended up getting to the top, raised his hand straight in the air, fell over and died. And when I was making my final ascent on that day, May 23rd of 2021, I had to step over Don Cash. And, if that's not just a crazy, eerie thing to be thinking about, because, all these competitive things that we do, you go play hoops. It really doesn't matter what level you play. You're pretty much not going to die, on the football field and things like that. And to be stepping over dead bodies, not just him, there was other guys too. I had another guy at 26,500 feet, Camp 4, dead guy laying 6 feet from me. Yeah, it's just a weird mindset that you have to put your mind into, so that you don't freak out so much about that moment and there's dead people laying around. And you just got to focus on the task at hand to get you to the top and back down safely. It's a very dangerous environment, and I'm very lucky that I'm sitting here today talking to you guys.
So within the 7 summits, I know you're talking about Everest specifically just now, but what was the most unique thing you encountered, like just judging all the different mountains, all different parts of the world, geographic diversity that it could be? And did that help? Did that contribute to maybe why it was more of a challenge than the others? Any one of the 7?
Well, it's a really good question. And, the kind of the net is that Mount Everest is exponentially way more difficult. Now, number 2 on the list is Denali, and that's tough too. It took me 21 days to get up and down that mountain. Actually, I'd been up there in 2017. I summited in 2018. In 2017, we ran into minus 80 degree weather. If you can appreciate being up in Alaska and that Arctic swirl that gets going around, and we're up there in May, and it just gets so unbelievably cold and storms that come in. But at the end of the day, 21 days is a pretty short time. I mean, we got locked down, and it wasn't fun, and we had to carry 137 pounds on our back to get up just in position to try to make it to the summit. We didn't make that happen in 2017. In 2018, we had Bluebird Day all the way. It was still cold, but we made it. And there's challenging things. There's an ice wall that's 800 feet that you got to climb up. You got to climb over this big crevasse to get into that. And then you're on a fixed line to get, through that 800 feet. It's extremely steep, and there's a lot of people that die up there. But when you go to Mount Everest, you're talking about 2 months of suffering, and that's number one, what makes it unique when we're talking about big mountain expeditions. Number 2, you got to think about, you're not, coming back and like Kenny having a drink and a smoke, it's freeze-dried food. It's a tough way to live and survive on types of foods that you're not used to eating and consuming, and trying to keep up the calories, considering how many calories you're burning. You guys are on Long Island right now, and you guys are at in terms of elevation, you're at like 0 feet right now, right? Right. Imagine this: if you guys look straight up in the sky, and I'm addressing Kenny when I say that, 17,500 feet. Think about that. Living at 17,500 feet for 2 months, And so a lot of people have this, there's a brain and also a lung issue, pulmonary edema, and cerebral edema, where people's, there's not enough oxygen that's going to the brain and people shut down. And we were flying people off left and right. And then you got to contend with the Kumba ice fall. And that's basically a 2,000 foot straight up frozen glacier of about 30-foot ice columns that are collapsing every day. I went through that thing 5 times, up and down, up and down, up and down over those 2 months. There's not one time that I took the same route. Every single time we had to go through a different route because the routes that they had set all collapsed. You're going down crevasses, you're coming back out, you're going up these huge ice walls. There's avalanches coming down on you every single day. The weather is very unpredictable. And then you make it to that next camp up there, camp 1, camp 2. Now you're kind of in that zone where it's relatively safe, but now you're still at 22,000, 23,000 feet. And then you got to go climb the Lhotse face. And if you can imagine an ice rink, and if you could tilt it 45 degrees. And on the last rotation that we went en route to the top, we got caught in a cyclone for 3 days. So imagine being on a 45 degrees ice slope in a tent for 3 days in a cyclone, couldn't get out of your tent, couldn't get out of your sleeping bag. I mean, it was terrifying. So there's just all these things that added into it just because, it's such an extreme environment. And then when you get up to the top, that's where the jet stream goes or flies, at 26,500 feet. In 2 weeks during the fall, 2 weeks during the springtime, the jet stream rises above 26,000 feet, actually rises above 29,000 feet at the top. Theoretically, it's not exact. It might be a day, it might be 10 days, it might be 2 days and then skip and then come back down. And it's all over the board like it was for us. And, coming out of the cyclone and then making a kind of a ditch for the top and dealing with all the altitude. And now you're breathing oxygen masks like you see astronauts or something. It's just a whole exponential different level that you got to deal with and contend.
As everybody knows, we are talking to former NFL receiver, Emmy Award winner for Searching for the Summit, Mark Pattison. Mark, obviously you trained as an NFL player, and it takes a lot out of your body. It's a physical training, mental training. What is it like training for the NFL and training to get on a football field? And what was it like training and getting ready to climb a big mountain?
Well, that's a great question. You guys are firing off great questions, and I appreciate that. One of the things that I learned a lot from is my head coach, Don James. For those that don't remember Don James, he was a coach at Washington where I played, and he had come up or adapted a version that John Wooden, the famous basketball coach down at UCLA, had called the Pyramid of Success. And really all things that I've done in life, from the NFL to climbing mountains to making this film to being an executive at Sports Illustrated, it all has the same pattern. And there's basically 25 different building blocks. And if you don't take care of each one of these building blocks, getting bigger, getting faster, getting stronger, studying film, staying in class, doing all those types of things on the mountain, of learning how to use your ice axe and put on crampons and the different kind of outfits and how to eat and how to hydrate yourself. There's all these different things in there. At the very top of that rung is competitive greatness. And you've got levels like Michael Jordan, which are the ultimate example of competitive greatness, right? But the bottom line, what that really means is that you love the process. And that's the number one element in all these things that you have to do is love the process. The major difference, and there's a lot of similarities between the NFL and climbing mountains, but you got to get vertical. There's just no substitute. So what I was doing is I lived in Manhattan Beach, California, right, at the time, 5 years ago. And, just like Long Beach, beautiful beaches right along, it's elevation 0. And I decided to move my entire life over to Sun Valley, Idaho. We live at 6,000 feet. Every single day I go up in the mountain. Every single day. I climbed 1,800 feet today. And just straight up, I'm training for more mountains coming up. We can talk about those later, but what I think one of the things that when you're, especially for me as a receiver in the NFL, a lot of my game was burst and sprints and route running and those types of things. And you're not going straight uphill. And when you're climbing these mountains, that's what you're doing. And people that have an experience that they can just seriously hurt, from their hamstrings and their quads when they're going up or coming back down. And that can a lot of times make the difference between failure and success.
So in the mountains that you've climbed in the 7 summits, what about the other surrounding areas within those countries? Was there any country or even city about that stood out with the geographic or anything like that away from the mountain?
Yeah, I mean, each one is amazing. I mean, I would think in relative to that question in today's environment, that the highest mountain, ironically, in Europe is in Russia. And so, who goes to Russia? I did. I was in Moscow, I was in Leningrad. And when we finally got kind of a planes, trains, and automobiles down the Caucasus Mountains to climb this mountain called Mount Elbrus, it sits next to this other country called Georgia. And when we were there, there had been the Russians had shot down a plane or something from Georgia, and there's all this high tension and conflict, and there's all these soldiers running around with machine guns, and we were told not to go too close to the border and all this kind of stuff. So, when you're in these other countries, you got to beware. But another country that I absolutely fell in love with was Argentina. The highest mountain in South America is a mountain called Aconcagua, 23,000 feet. And you go down into a town called Mendoza. And I didn't know this at the time, but Mendoza is where they make all the Malbec wines.
Mm-hmm.
And, so it's cheap too. So, we had a lot of time, good time partaking and drinking.
Should have brought Kenny. You should have brought Kenny.
Kenny would have been my wingman on the way down there, man. He would have fit right in. But it's a town kind of like, well, it's much bigger than Napa, but it's in that vein, of all these different vineyards and things like that. But it's just a great way to travel the world and see it in a way that, normally you wouldn't do those types of things.
As everybody knows, we are talking to former NFL receiver, Emmy Award winner for Searching for the Summit, Mark Pattison. Mark, when we watch the game of football, it's so intense. It's mental. It's abusive to the body. And that's why they say only an NFL player lasts for 3 years. And if you're lucky, you play a little bit longer than that. When you look at the game today, more than it was when you played, what is different that you have seen from when you were playing?
Well, I think there's less physicality. I mean, certainly there's incredible hits and everything else, but the referees and the rules of the game now are really, really protecting guys like me, the receivers coming across the center. I mean, the safeties like Ronnie Lott just can't, tee up against you and knock you out like they used to do. And if you take any kind of a hit to the head, the flag comes out. And you see this time and again. Then you take a look at the quarterback. Guys like Tom Brady has probably had a major effect on his career, the longevity. Drew Brees, from the standpoint of those guys not being able to be hit, once they release the ball and they're really, on it in terms of blowing the whistle and things like that. I think in a lot of ways it was more violent back in the day. Maybe the players today are a little faster and stronger and bigger. They seem to be, but violence is violence and hits are hits. And it's just, it was a normal day with the Raiders every day in camp for a brawl to take place. I mean, that was just like going and getting some water, people fighting. It's just the way it is. And they seem like they really hold that back now. And the kickoffs are structured now where there's not nearly as much, violence and high intensity hits running down, because most of the kickers, they've moved it up a little bit. So most of the kicks are going out of the end zone and things like that. So, it's still a brutal sport. Those guys are intense. They're playing the game the way the game is intended to be played. But with all these different injuries, especially with the CTE stuff going on in the NFL, they've had to throttle back and try to protect those guys a lot more.
So either NFL or in college as well, do you have a favorite football moment in your career?
Oh man, I've got so many. I was fortunate to be on my senior year. We were number one in the country most of the year, and late in the season we lost to USC in a close game, and we ended up going to the Orange Bowl. We were the first Pac-12 team to ever go to the Orange Bowl. USC went to the Rose Bowl, and we played Oklahoma. And this is back when the Boz was playing, and Switzer was the coach, and they had all these big characters on the team, and nobody thought we had a chance. We ended up beating Oklahoma. I happened to catch the winning diving catch in the end zone with a couple minutes to go to take our team ahead. So, certainly, you remember your first play and you remember your last play, and I happen to have, a great play then. And then, look at, I went from kind of a hardcore, very regimented, very disciplined system at the University of Washington with Don James. And then I go down to the Raiders, it's Al Davis. And I was there. I was kind of part of the new blood that came in. And there was still a lot of those 1983 holdovers from the Super Bowl: Marcus Allen, Jim Plunkett, Cliff Branch, Matt Millen, Lyle Alzado, Howie Long, Lester Hayes. The list just went on and on. Henry Lawrence. I mean, all these legends. And, every Thursday night they had a camaraderie night. And, Kenny would have fit right into that as well, because it was going out, creating a lot of mayhem, a lot of drinking. And that's the way that we bonded back in the day. And it was great. I loved it, and those guys took me in.
Kenny does look like the stereotypical drunk Raiders fan.
He looks like the kind of whatever fan would do anything. I'll tell you that right now. Anytime the story that Kenny told us last week, he used to do a show and he posted it up on YouTube, and it got suspended because he recorded himself chasing after geese because they crap or they do all these terrible things, eat your food. So he ran after them into a lake or a pond after them and tried to grab their feathers. I mean, I love Kenny. Kenny's in his own little world, but he is one of the more unique people and fans that call this show. I can tell you that.
Love that.
We are talking to former NFL receiver and Emmy Award winner for Searching for the Summit, Mark Pattison. Last question for me, Mark. When you look at everything that's happened in your life, everything has come to then and now. Yeah. What in your career in football, what stood out the most and what stands out more than ever now that your life being at 60 years old?
Well, this is going to sound weird to you, but I don't look at, I know you probably see it differently, but I don't see myself as doing anything special from the standpoint of all these things I've gone after for the right reasons. I love playing football. I was that kid that was a gym rat. Like you talk to any of my buddies from way back when I was in 8th grade, I was always in the playground. I was always on that play field. I always had a ball in my hand. I was shooting hoops when nobody was else there. I was always that gym rat, right? And that just kept accelerating me through these different levels that I kept going to, from high school into college, from college into pro. And I just had a relentless mindset to keep going. And then I started mountain climbing, and the same thing, rather than look at all 7 and being overwhelmed by that, I really focused on just one mountain at a time. What do I need to do? And when was that? What are the logistics? How do I get there? How is this going to be different? And then, because the kind of compilation of these different things, then came the film. And the film was the film, and we had executive producers. But again, at the core of it, I was doing what my true love was. I wasn't doing this for a award. I wasn't doing this to, get more Instagram followers. I was doing this because of the love of the game, love of climbing and doing things, being physical. I saw this movie not too long ago. It had to do with the guy who invented snowboarding, and he got to 60 and everybody's like, God, you've accomplished so much. And they said, why don't you slow down and just really taste the fruits of your labor? And he said, well, maybe all you guys need to accelerate and catch up. And that's kind of the way I feel. I'm going down to Jackson Hole next weekend, and I'm climbing this mountain called the Grand. It's very technical. It's scary looking rock. It's going straight up, tied in, climbing up the rock face. And then I'm training for that, because then I'm flying over to Chamonix, France in September. I'm climbing Mount Blanc, which is the highest mountain in the Alps. And then I'm going down into Switzerland in a little town called Zermatt. And there's the famous and infamous Matterhorn. Oh. And so that's going to be intense, and I just want to keep setting these goals and going after it. And it gives me my greatest joy is I get up every single morning, like with my hands in the air, like Yahoo, yippee, I'm ready to go. And I get out there and I get after it for an hour and a half. And then I work all day at Sports Illustrated, and we transform that too. I've taken the exact same principle, that pyramid of success of what I was talking about, like all those fine little details, and do it with a passion and a purpose. And it's amazing at what can transpire. When we took over Sports Illustrated 3 years ago now, they were an old brand. It was tired. It was worn out. And we've elevated Sports Illustrated now to number 5 in the rankings. In terms of the online presence. ESPN's number 2. We're right behind CBS. And so we've gone from being completely irrelevant to very relevant, and we'll continue to climb up. This year, I think we're going to end up at number 3. And it's really cool. It's the same thing. It's the same principle.
So my last question, you're involved with also 2 foundations, one of which helps support epilepsy, which is, according to Wikipedia, your daughter has. So in honor of your daughter. So wishing her all the best as well. And also veterans, Higher Ground, something that supports them. So just describe to the fans how they can support those causes.
Yeah, well, I mean, bottom line is that they're kind of rolled up into one, but my daughter does have epilepsy. By the way, this we could go off on a whole another hour-long show on why and because and everything else. But the bottom line is she has not had a seizure in a year and a half, and it's almost been a miracle. And it's in many different ways. I think it's through the empowerment of some of these things that I've done, which have kind of put her up on a pedestal as a spokesperson. That have helped in part to get her over the hump of having these different daily seizures that she would have. I partner with a company here in a nonprofit here in Sun Valley called the Higher Ground, and they do spend a lot of time bringing in a lot of veterans. It's all about that word empowerment. It's getting them to go fly fishing and mountain bike riding. A lot of these guys are damaged with their legs were blown off, or they've got some PTSD and things like that. And they've lost their confidence. So getting them back out in nature and doing different things has really helped them along. And so if anybody, is listening on the show, you can find out more about me, about my journey. You can find the movie. I also have a podcast called Finding Your Summit. It's all at markpattisonnfl.com. You can check that out. You can check out into my social at Mark Pattison NFL. But you can go there and you can see the links to Higher Ground if you want to make a donation. It's a great cause, great organization. Everything goes 100% directly to them. So that's what it is. And, it's been a lot of fun, very gratifying in this whole journey to originally start out about me and then transition it to, how can I reshine that light on other people?
Well, I would like to help you with that. And I'm actually doing a sports awards dinner on Thursday and hosting it and DJing it and emceeing it. You get me the information. I'll definitely get people to absolutely donate money to that great cause. We really appreciate you. We really do. And somebody like you, people should look up to, because when you look at all the great things you've done and the things that you have moved forward in your life, not even as a football player, but everything that you've done, you try to be the best at what you do. And that's something that everybody should want to do and be like. And I'm one of those guys too, with radio and everything like that. And I just read a little bit about you at Sports Illustrated. That's unbelievable. You're a big part of the growth of Sports Illustrated, I see right here. So
yeah,
it's unbelievable. Sports Illustrated is a known magazine. It's a magazine at one point that was, flustered and it wasn't where it needed to be. And now it's starting to grow again, and it's getting back on that top 5 scale. So that has a lot to do with you, and that shows you everybody that if you put your heart and soul into everything that you do, you're going to you'll be able to bring that to being the best at what you can be. So
that's exactly it.
We really appreciate you. We'll stay in touch. I definitely would like to talk more about everything that you're doing, even off air, because I think you're an amazing man, Mark, and a person like you is somebody that I strive to be as a radio guy and as an entertainer. So I really appreciate everything that you've done and really appreciate you joining us tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Again, big shout out to Kenny. You guys can have a great chat with him afterwards, but love what you guys are doing and bringing guys like me, on your show to share our stories. And, there's always something bigger. It should be bigger, at least, in my mind, about why you get into certain things and just being open to change and possibilities. And it's amazing what you can accomplish.
Absolutely. 100%.
Very well said.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Mark Pattison, everybody, Emmy Award winner, ex-NFL wide receiver, searching for the summit. If you haven't checked it, check it out. It's East 60. They did a whole take on it. If you look up the video, it's a 43-minute video on the internet, so you can check it out. It's a fantastic story. And Mark Pattison is one of those guys you have to look up to. He's a special guy. Speedy, write to him. I want to get all his information when I do this sports award dinner on Thursday. That's why I'm going to be late for the show on Thursday. I'm going to host this event. So I will definitely bring get a lot of people to donate money to that great cause. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking to our pal. We haven't spoken to him for a couple of years. Cowboys and Sons play-by-play broadcaster Kevin Ray here on the Sports Loudmouths.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
I know Kevin likes this. This is some old time hip hop, man. Little 90s. Q-tip, baby. 631-672-3108 is the number. You are listening to the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app on iOS, WWSRN or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Former NFL receiver and Emmy Award winner from Searching for the Summit, Mark Pattison, joined us. He was fantastic. And why not bring in another special guest? We haven't spoken to this guy in a while. The last time we spoke to him, we were asking him silly questions, but now he's on. He's doing very, very well, and he has the opportunity to tell us about his Cowboys. We are now talking to Cowboys and Sons play-by-play broadcaster, Kevin Ray. Kevin, what's going on, man?
Gentlemen, how we doing?
Well, I'm not better than you, obviously. I mean,
I don't know about that. I mean,
come on, Kevin, you're the play-by-play guy for the Suns, who went all the way to the finals the year before last, and was a big-time team this year. Won 60 games, was one of the best teams in the NBA. And then you watch the Cowboys completely lay up a dud in the playoffs last year. So you're a Cowboys. But before we get into this, how are you been? How's your family doing from the whole COVID-19 situation?
Yeah, we are great. Thank you for asking. Like everybody else, everybody dealing with challenges, but all things considered, knock on wood, nobody was impacted too severely by it. And like everybody else, we're all feeling very happy to be on the other side of it as much as we can. We know that it's still out there and there's new variants and stuff, but it's good to be kind of back to business as normal right now, and looking forward to, another great season.
So you look at let's go into the Suns first before we get in, because a lot of Cowboy stuff, because we have a lot of Cowboy haters and we have a lot of Cowboy lovers that listen to this show. So let's go through the Suns. Obviously, Chris Paul gets traded over there to the Suns, signs his contract extension. He's a big part of the growth of this team. Monty Williams is a great coach. Really has developed these young players into a defensive, offensive style of team, one of the better teams in the NBA. And then obviously Booker and obviously DeAndre Ayton, some of the young talent that they have. What has stood out to you with this Phoenix Suns team in the last two seasons?
Well, I think it's just, how much they have really rallied around one another. And it sounds cliche, but it's probably one of the greatest things that gets overlooked for people in sports and most certainly for fans. But the delicate chemistry that is needed in order to be successful. And this is a group of guys that was put together by James Jones and Monty Williams. They love hooping. They love playing, with and for one another. They're great friends off the court, and that chemistry has gone a long way in, helping launch them to, 2 incredibly successful seasons. Obviously, this past year, they wound up well short of what the final goal was. But by and large, you've got great young core pieces. I mean, we've got 4 or 5 guys who are 25 years or younger who are part of that main core. And James Jones, has proven to be a very adept general manager, executive of the year. I guess now 2 seasons ago, there was so much basketball played in an 18-month span. You kind of remember, it's like, oh, that's right, it was 2 years ago.
Yep.
But yeah, just good people, guys who love to ball, and guys who continue to work on their craft and try to get better for the next season.
So you, in those 2 seasons, one with the NBA Finals run, and last year with the historically good regular season that they had, what were those experiences like, broadcasting those games and covering the team the way you did?
Well, it goes without saying, when you're a play-by-play guy, I mean, that's what you live for. That's what you love. And considering the long drought of a decade plus that the Suns team went through without going into the playoffs, and you really appreciate and enjoy night in and night out feeling like your team has a chance to win. And look, taking nothing away, one of the first people that I spoke to when I got into the play-by-play seat was Ralph Lawler, a longtime television voice for the Los Angeles Clippers. Absolutely, tremendous gentleman. And, we all know how many years the Clippers went before they started winning. And I just felt that he could provide some great input for me. And he did. He just said, really told me, kind of what I knew deep down, but he reinforced, which is, look, we're blessed to be in the position we're in. We're, one of 30 guys who get to do this job. And what I do is not work. I grew up on a farm and working for my uncle in construction. So I know what work is. And so getting to call an NBA or an NFL game is not work, man. It is an absolute joy and a pleasure. And you just take, you took each night back in those losing seasons, and you just try to compartmentalize and just say, tonight might be the night. What kind of special performance am I going to see? Is it going to be a special team performance? Is it going to be a special individual performance? And you really try to focus on that. And then again, just, being grateful for being in the broadcast seat that I'm in. And those words and that wisdom serve me well. And when you get to a situation like this where they're winning a lot of games, just makes it a whole lot more fun.
We are talking to Cowboys and Suns play-by-play broadcaster Kevin Ray. Kevin, I was about to ask you, what is it like being a part of an event like a playoff opportunity for basketball and football? But Speedy asked you that question. But my question to you is, when you look at the game of basketball for what it was when you started being a broadcaster, what has become more different of watching the games and broadcasting and doing the play-by-play for the games then until now?
Yeah, I think it goes without saying, we've all seen how prevalent the three-point shot has become. I mean, I think back to those great Mike D'Antoni teams with Steve Nash, a 2-time MVP, Amari Stoudemire, and a team that got to the conference finals and came up short, a few times, but how dynamic they were offensively. But even that team only attempted maybe 13 to 15 3-point shots per game. It wasn't like they were jacking them up, yet they kind of revolutionized the game by how fast and how quickly they moved the ball and, got the ball up the floor. And now it's not uncommon to see 13 to 20 3-point shot attempts in a quarter. So that's one of the biggest things. You just don't have the back to your basket type guy. You really do play outside in with most all of your offense being behind that 3-point line, and the way that analytics has really changed the view and strategy from coaches. And as a result, as a broadcaster, you're calling the game differently than you did 10 years ago, just for those very reasons.
So a lot has been made of the Suns this offseason with Kevin Durant, and now Kevin Durant now giving the Nets kind of an ultimatum: either trade me or fire these guys, including Steve Nash, who's now coaching them. Ironically,
What a bunch of clowns over there, by the way.
So the Suns are one of the teams he wanted to go to initially, but now that with DeAndre Ayton, with the way that worked out, they can't trade him until the trade deadline.
Keep Kevin Durant away from the Suns, please.
So is that what you're thinking is going to happen now, or do you think there's still a shot?
Man, I have no idea. That is way above my pay grade. A lot of people were saying in July with the trade deadline it was going to happen, and there's a lot of rhetoric going on right now, and we all know that the discussion between KD and the owner and the way that went down. All I know is if the Suns do run it back with their current roster, I feel very confident about them, being successful again this season. And look, it goes without saying, Kevin Durant is one of the top 5 players on the planet. I mean, just hands down. So he's going to make your team better. I think what everybody has continued to look at, and for Suns fans, just in talking to a lot of them, the underlying concern is if you were to pull the trigger on a deal like that, what are you having to give up? And if you give up so much for him, do you really have enough, even considering how talented he is, to then contend for a championship? And I think that's what, James Jones, and for that matter, any GM of a team that is considering that move really has to take a close examination of, because there's certainly no guarantee that he's going to bring a title with you. And if you gut your team, if you send out 5 or 6 of those core players that I'm talking about who are 25 and younger, you are really shrinking your window of success. And I think those are the things that they're weighing right now.
If they want a circus, they make the trade. I mean, there are a bunch of clowns over there. Kyrie Irving is a clown. Kevin Durant's a clown, and Ben Simmons is the biggest clown of them all. Okay, 3 clowns running, and by the way, 3 talented clowns, but clowns won't work over there, and it doesn't matter where they go. If Kyrie goes to the LA Lakers, it's not going to make them any better. If Kevin Durant goes over to the Suns, he's going to ruin that team. And if Ben Simmons stays over there with the Nets, well, he'll probably just sit there and collect his money. So they're just a bunch of clowns over there, and I'm right over here, and I know all the Brooklyn fans over here are probably telling me I don't know what I'm talking about. But look at what the Suns did last year, and look at what the Nets did. I don't want to hear that they weren't healthy. You had Kyrie healthy, and you had Kevin Durant healthy. You should have beaten the Boston Celtics. I'm sorry. As good as the Boston Celtics are defensively, you have 2 of the top 10 players in the league. You should be winning. So it tells me that they don't work together, and they're a bunch of clowns. So trade them away. But anyways, that's all hearsay or something else that we could talk about another time. We were talking to Cowboys and Suns play-by-play broadcaster Kevin Ray. One more question for me before we get into football. There's so many talks with all these superstars after the offseason. You hear Kevin Durant's name, you hear Kyrie Irving, you hear Donovan Mitchell wanting to be traded now. Why is this going on in the NBA? In all the sports, it seems like the NBA has become a prima donna sport where if they don't want to play somewhere and they're demanding a trade out, they want their money and they're demanding to be traded out to the team that they want to play for, or they won't play. Why is this going on in the NBA? What could Adam Silver do to help change this from going on?
Yeah, I think it goes without saying that there is a degree of concern from the commissioner when it comes to these type of situations. And the only thing I would say with with Donovan, I'm not sure that he has been as adamant as much as it has been coming from the Jazz. When you look at what they're trying to do, I think it's safe to say that having him on a team where they're in a clear rebuild, I think they're clearly looking at him as an asset. Now, as it relates to KD, yeah, I think it is a concern because, when you're sitting there as an owner and a general manager, and here you are just a year removed from having signed this guy to a 4-year contract, what it comes down to is you start asking, what's a contract really mean? What does a contract stand for? If there is nothing for us as an organization, as a coach and a GM to be able to stand up. And I do think that it'll be a part of the dialogue with Commissioner Silver, the players union, the next CBA, because it's not, you don't want to turn it into a transient league, if you will, where a guy says, yeah, I'm just not happy here. I'm just not feeling the vibe and I want out. That is not what will set this, league up for continued success.
So I'll transition now to the NFL and the Cowboys. So Micah Parsons having that big rookie year he did last year, rookie of the year.
Sensational year.
And the Cowboys defense kind of took some interesting overhauls. They lost Randy Gregory, but they brought in a couple other linebackers, most recently Anthony Barr. My question is, with all the linebacker depth that they have, can you see Micah Parsons maybe transitioning into a full-time pass rusher? And if so, would that diminish his other value too? Because he was great at coverage, stopping the run, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting to see how Dan Quinn, utilizes Micah now in his second season. This is a kid you love to watch play. And, going back to talking about the Suns, how they love to hoop. This guy loves to play football, man. He loves to compete. And it will be interesting to see how much they move him around the field. And, of course, this is year 2, so there's the full season's worth of tape. How are teams going to try and scheme with Micah? And I think you also have to look at the other guys around him, how successful they can be. Can Tank Lawrence, get back to the line record and game record that he was a few years ago? But I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that Micah will have an impact. I'm just not sure if we'll see those kind of sack numbers. But having said that, I think the amount and level of disruption will be equal, if not greater.
We are talking to Cowboys and Suns play-by-play broadcaster Kevin Ray, friend of the show. We love Kevin. Now let's get into this whole Dak Prescott thing, because Dak has been manhandled by the press after what he did in the playoffs last year. And I feel bad for him. I like Dak. I stick up for him. I've stuck up for him since they drafted him. And in the 4th round, where everybody said he was going to be nothing, he was never going to start in the NFL, he earned his way after Romo got hurt, and he's really become, I believe, a top 12 quarterback in the NFL. And then last year, demanding for the money, he got his money, and everybody's looking at the numbers, and everybody's looking at what he's done against winning teams and what he's done against poor teams. He is dominated against poor teams, and he's barely beaten any good teams. That's what people are saying. Right. I disagree. And what he did in the playoffs last year with 1 minute left made absolutely no sense. He was attacked. I blame the coach, because the coach should be telling the player, this is how many timeouts we have. Be aware where we're at the time clock of where we are. He did not do that. And McCarthy actually admitted at the end of the game he did not inform Dak on that situation. What was Dak saying after the game as far as what you have saw, what you've seen in that game? What really changed your mind on his mistake in that game?
Yeah, look, to be honest with you, that was so long ago, and,
right.
and there's really no reason to go back and right. kind of rehash that. He acknowledges he should have gotten down sooner. To your point, I think the play call itself, game management is something that has hung over the head of Mike McCarthy. And I think you could, if you read between the lines from Jerry Jones and some of the offseason comments, it's clear that game management was a part of a number of offseason discussions between owner and head coach, I'm right there with you on Dak. I've been a huge Dak fan from the moment he got into the league. He is a great guy. He is an absolute fighter. He is a winner. And look, sport outside of golf and tennis is a team sport. Yes, you can break down the numbers for this and that, but last year's flameout went way beyond Dak. You look at the inferior line play the last 6 or 7 games. Zeke was not healthy. He should not have been on the field probably in that playoff game. So there are a variety of things that you can point to and say, this is why. Did Dak play his best game? Absolutely not. He'd be the first one to raise his hand and say, yeah, I've got to do better because I am the leader. But that's what you love about Dak, because he takes that accountability and responsibility as the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. So those are things that he will learn from, the team will learn from, and hopefully all be better as a result.
A lot of respect for Dak Prescott for all the things that he's gone through as an NFL player.
Look, beyond NFL player, I mean, what this guy's been through personally, I just, and I know Dak's not the only guy in the league who's had losses, but when you consider the people that he lost within a 2-year period on top of having that injury, I just don't think people really understand what that can do to a human being. And no amount of money is going to make that right for you.
So speaking of offense, they traded Amari Cooper this offseason. He goes to the Browns. So CeeDee Lamb now has to be the guy to step up as that number 1 guy. What have you seen from him so far in this training camp?
Yeah, CeeDee's had a good camp. Training camps are so different now, guys. And I've only been out here for a couple of days, so I can't honestly say that I've seen a ton from him other than just talking to some folks. But he's had a good camp. I mean, look, he is the number 1 receiver now, and it will be interesting to see if he can kind of live up to that billing. There's going to have to be other people that step up and help alleviate some of that pressure. We won't see Michael Gallup till, I'm guessing, late October would be my guess, maybe even November when you consider the injury he had. Unfortunately, they lose Washington, who they picked up in the offseason. He's out for probably 6 to 10 weeks. So the receiving room's pretty thin right now. But CD is going to have to step up and be the playmaker that he's wanted to be and they need him to be.
As everybody knows, we are talking to Cowboys and Sons play-by-play broadcaster Kevin Ray. Kevin, the Cowboys over the years have been known for their offensive line. They've dominated in the trenches over the years, especially in the 90s when they won their 3 Super Bowls. Everybody forgets. They talk about Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin. People forget how dominant their offensive line. You're talking about 5 All-Pro, 5 Hall of Famers that played on that offensive line and dominated at the line of scrimmage. Now you look at this offensive line. They lost one of their star tackles. He goes to the Bengals this offseason, and they're just getting old. And they lost their center. He retires. Where is this offensive line going now? And if I was Dak Prescott, would I be excited going into a season where my offensive line is not as strong as it has been over the years?
Yeah, look, going back to what I said earlier, you look at the last 7 weeks of the season, and the offensive line was just not good. Tyron Smith, perennial Pro Bowler, but injuries, I think, have taken a toll on Tyron. He hasn't played a full season in a few years now. Last year, missing several games. He had a turnstile there at left tackle trying to find somebody to pick him up. Tyler Biadasz, took over as center a couple of years ago. He has not really stepped into that role the way that they had hoped and wanted. McGovern has really struggled. So, there are some question marks coming into this season if this team offensive line can really get solidified. I will say this, though. Their pick in the offensive line, Tyler Smith, the young man out of Tulsa, this kid is going to be a stud. You hear the words nasty, you hear the words violent when they talk about him. I've seen some of the clips of him in practice, watched him a little bit today. He has got a bright future. So I'm not sure that he will start in week 1, but I would not be surprised if before it's all said and done that he is a starter, probably on the inside and maybe look to move him out on the edge once Tyron Smith decides to wrap it up. But there's some promise there in the offensive line, but there's a lot to make up for the way things kind of ended last season.
You stole my Tyler Smith question because Tyler Smith, everybody was attacking the Cowboys on why they drafted him where he was. Jermaine Johnson was sitting there. They could have drafted him, add another defensive player to that defensive line with Micah Parsons. They didn't go there. They went after this offensive lineman. People are questioning. Some people thought we've had scouts talk on the show and said at one point he was a top 10 pick a year ago. And then he kind of fell off this past year because he didn't play as well in certain games. When you look at this Cowboys team as a whole, okay, and it's a whole, is this a playoff team this year?
I do believe it's a playoff team. It will not be easy, though. I do believe that they have a chance to win the division again. Because I think that the division is still very much in flux. I know a lot of people are in love with Philadelphia, the moves that they've made, and they have made some very, shrewd moves, but remains to be seen if they're ready to take that mantle from the Cowboys. And when you look at the Giants, you got an entire new coaching staff again. Daniel Jones, is he ready to finally be a consistent starting quarterback? And in Washington, Carson Wentz, we saw how things went there. So I believe it's going to be a 2-horse race between Dallas and Philadelphia. The head-to-head matchups will be critical. But yes, I do believe it can be a playoff team if things come together. And obviously, like any team, there's no significant injuries.
We do love Washington, by the way, especially the stupidity of their owner. I mean, it is great to have bad guys and bad teams in the NFL. And when you look at Washington, I respect the fans because I think they have one of the best fans in all of sports. But the problem is over there, the ownership over there is just lackadaisical. He is a complete moron. And in everything, in every kind of way, if I was somebody, and I'm not going to mention a name, who is suing the NFL and suing the Washington Commanders for throwing him under the bus when ownership should have been thrown under the bus 100%. And everybody knows, I'm not going to name the coach because everybody knows who I'm talking about. It is absolutely appalling that man still owns that team, okay? And the NFL should be ashamed of themselves for letting that guy still be a part of that organization. That's all I'm going to say about that.
That's a lot, and I'll leave it at that too.
So I want to say, in your observation so far, than what you've heard and seen at training camp so far, is there any under the radar players for Dallas that we should be looking out for that may be a breakout type candidate?
I don't know necessarily about a breakout guy, but talking to some folks today, as we were talking about the receiving core and right now being a little bit thin, but a young man who's had a great camp so far, Dennis Houston, out of Western Illinois, undrafted free agent, and seems to be really steady in just his approach to the game, and has definitely raised some eyebrows. So he is a guy, look, he's going to get opportunities because of the injuries and the departure, obviously, of Amari Cooper. And in preseason, I don't anticipate a lot of the starters seeing any time. And let me just restate, any time. Because you've got a 3-game preseason. The Cowboys will work Thursday against Denver before they play them in preseason Saturday. They'll have a practice against the Chargers as well the following week. So I don't anticipate the starters seeing any time, or if so, very, very little time. And it'll open the door for guys like Dennis Houston to step up. But he could be a guy in the receiving core that could find himself on the field a lot more than people would imagine.
As everybody knows, we are talking to the Cowboys and Suns play-by-play broadcaster, friend of the show, Kevin Ray. Kevin, last question for me. Zeke, baby. I've always liked Zeke from Ohio State. I thought he was drafted a little too high, but I still think he's a fantastic running back. But last year, even though his numbers would show that he had a decent season, Tony Pollard really stuck out like a sore thumb more than he did. And a lot of people are saying that Tony Pollard is going to see more look this year than he did last year. And that means this could be the end of Zeke as we know it. Do you think that's true? Or do you think that the Cowboys still believe Zeke is the number one running back of this team?
Well, I think they believe he's the number one, but it really does. And you hit it right on the head when you look at the dynamic numbers that you got from Tony Pollard. It really is 1A and 1B. And quite frankly, that's the way it should be. That's the way I thought it would be last year. And early on in the year, we saw more two-back sets and we saw more motion with Tony Pollard. Look, he's a terrific receiver. So I wouldn't be surprised, and I've got nothing to base this on other than just his productivity out of the backfield as a pass catcher. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see Tony Pollard, run some out of the slot, coming out of the backfield in motion. I always felt like that was one area when you looked at the play calling beyond the players. I think that a lot of folks were really disappointed in the play calling the last 6 weeks from Kellen Moore in that offense. Got really vanilla and didn't utilize the weapon that you've got into Tony Pollard. So I really think that Tony will be on the field. I'm certainly hoping he'll be on the field more, the two-back set, but you run him in motion, bring him out, run him out of a slot situation, and let him operate in space. And when he does that, he can make something happen. As far as Zeke goes, best shape of his life when you look at him, when you talk to folks. And as it was to say, it's not just the running back. You've got to have some help up front with your big offensive linemen. So it goes hand in glove there. But I think if Zeke puts up, strong numbers again this season, I think he'll have a chance to come back, but I think it's going to be on a rework contract, or he will probably be shown the door. To your point, probably got more money than they really needed. That's something that came out, immediately once the deal was done. But I believe that Zeke is still a very, very good back. And if he stays healthy, I think he has a chance to have another strong season.
I don't want to throw you under the bus because I know Jerry pays you, but what the heck is Jerry thinking about when he's showing everybody the way he drafts? What is he doing? I think he's a smart man. He's a smart businessman. But how do you go to the press and say, well, this is what we do? And he shows everybody how they draft. His son was even telling him, Dad, what are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, come on, Jerry. What are you thinking?
Well, and just to be clear, I do the games for Compass Media Network. So
I'm just kidding.
I don't get any checks from Jerry.
I know.
But I know what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. Look, it's a high entertainment value when you're talking about the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. Mr. George Steinbrenner Jr. Okay, that's what no wonder why they were best friends. Oh my God.
My last question: one bold prediction for either one of your teams, the Cowboys, and one for the Suns for this upcoming season.
Boy, bold season or bold prediction. I'm very intrigued by this Cowboys team because it comes in. It's the first time in about 5 years where I just really don't quite know what to expect because there's so many new faces. That being said, I can see this team, if they remain injury-free and people really play, up to their level, and the coaching staff coaches up to their level, I can see this team making a push. I'm not sure if it's a Super Bowl team, but I can see them winning 12, maybe 13 games. As it goes to the Suns,
wow.
Look, I'm a big believer in this team, even if they're not able to pull off the KD deal. I think they've got a lot of great pieces coming back, and it's a hungry team, especially based on considering the way that they kind of faltered there at the end in the playoffs against the Dallas Mavericks. So I see the Suns team contending once again with or without KD.
I love your take with Phoenix because I absolutely agree with you. I think Phoenix can win the championship whenever Chris Paul stands up and actually plays as hard as he does in the regular season. I think Chris Paul, the one thought that everybody's going to put on Chris Paul if he never wins a championship, I believe Chris Paul is the greatest point guard of this decade. Okay. He is. I don't care what anybody says about Steph Curry. Steph Curry is a great three-point shooter. He is not a two-way basketball player, and he's not Chris Paul. Chris Paul has gone everywhere, and he has made those teams better. Steph Curry could never do that. I'm sorry, he could never do that. So to compare Steph Curry to Chris Paul is bonkers, okay? But Steph Curry is always going to look like he is better because he's won 4 titles, and he played with superstars after superstars after superstars, and he is the face of that organization. That being said, the Cowboys, 12-13 wins. I don't know, my friends. That's a lot of wins.
He said bull prediction. I mean, I wasn't going to bring anything vanilla. So
that's a lot of wins for the Cowboys, especially like you said. There's so many new faces, but I love you, Kevin. I love everything about you. You're a hardworking man. You're the voice of the Cowboys. You're the voice of the Suns, and you're one of the main reasons why every time you get a chance to listen to the Cowboys play-by-play on the radio and the Suns on the radio, and you listen to you know what you're talking about, and you have such a good background of understanding the game. So we really appreciate you, and we'll be in touch a lot quicker than 2 years or 3 years.
Appreciate it, guys. Always enjoy the invite. Take care.
Absolutely. Kevin Ray, ladies and gentlemen, awesome. That's all I could say about that. Awesome. So is Mark Pattison. I didn't even know that Mark Pattison, you didn't tell me this. Mark Pattison's one of the main guys of Sports Illustrated. Did you know that?
No, I read all the other stuff too. That's
crazy.
So much background. I guess I missed that somehow. With all the stuff that he does with the mountains and the summit production. He said he had a podcast too, in addition to the documentary and all the stuff that he did. I didn't realize the Sports Illustrated thing too. That's fascinating.
It is. He's one of the main guys. He's the main. I think he's the VP. He practically does all the investigating and all that other stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
Kenny, yes, you can call in 10 minutes. Yes. But Kenny's been waiting to call. What's he going to be talking about today? Is he chasing lions now? Lions and tigers and bears? Oh my. I mean, seriously. I'm going to call Kenny the Wizard of Oz, okay? I'm going to call him Oz, all right? That'd be perfect for him. We'll call him Kenny Oz Rayner, okay?
That'll be his new middle name, whatever it is.
We'll call him Oz, all right? But definitely thank Kevin.
Are there geese in Oz? That's the real question.
He says he's on the can. Wonderful. That's wonderful. Stay on the can.
Thank you, Kenny.
Stay on the can, okay? Anyways, tell Kevin we really appreciate him. He's awesome. He really is. I love him. I missed him because we haven't spoken to him forever because, we're trying to bring in new guests. But Kevin gives you a different broad perspective of what's going on with the Suns organization and the Cowboys organization. Yeah. And to have somebody like that has such an inside take on what's going on for both teams in the industry is fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's fantastic play-by-play guy. If you guys have never heard Kevin do play-by-play, well, you're missing something great. Go check it out every Sunday for the Cowboys, especially the home games, which is fun with the crowd and the craziness over there. And the Suns. I listened to Kevin in the playoff games this past year. Fantastic. Okay, so if you like play-by-play and you want to be a play-by-play, all the kids out there that are trying to make it as a play-by-play guy, check out Kevin, and reach out to Kev because Kev can actually give you some information that you probably don't know about play-by-play. So 2 really great guests tonight. So
fantastic,
thank you.
yes.
Absolutely. The Roquan Smith situation seems that it's growing legs. Okay. And I'm not surprised Roquan Smith wants out of the Bears. Why would he want to be there? They practically lost their best pass rusher this offseason when they traded him over there to the Chargers. And Roquan is a guy that had a lot of respect for the Big Daddy. And now you sit here and you wonder what this defense is all about. This team over the years have been known for their defense, their front seven. Roquan Smith was a top draft pick. I remember he came from Georgia. and a very talented kid. And it took him 2 years to really develop his skills and become the elite linebacker that he is. He doesn't want to be there because the Bears are going to be really bad. And he knows that. And it doesn't matter how good he is or what his numbers are going to be this year. It's not going to make that defense any better than what they're probably going to be on paper. So I'm not surprised he's demanding a trade. The question is, are the Bears willing to trade him? And if they do trade him, what are they going to get for him? Because for a guy that talented, you could probably get 2 first-round draft picks for him. You could. And I've been listening to what Jeff said. He believes the Atlanta Falcons are going to be the team. Why would the Atlanta Falcons trade away, arguably, I would say, lottery picks? And I know Jeff is going to say there is no lottery in football. Top 10 pick in this year's draft when they could be looking for a quarterback. Really, I mean, with the quarterbacks that are going to be in this year's draft, there could be 4 drafted in the top 10. 4 of them. Why would they trade away a pick of this magnitude for Roquan Smith? Is Roquan Smith going to make Atlanta a playoff team this year? Probably not. They are far from the playoffs. They really are. And look who their starting quarterback is going to be this year. Now, I'm not going to say he's a bad quarterback. We've seen him when he played for Oregon. We've seen him when he played for Tennessee. We've seen him, he's been a journeyman, really, since he's come into the NFL. Now, is he a good quarterback? Yeah, he's a good quarterback. Is he going to win games with his arm? No, he's not. He'll win games with his legs. So, going back to understanding of what's going on with this Roquan Smith situation, and he's not going to the Jets, by the way. There's no way the Jets are going to give away, especially Joe Douglas, on how savvy he is with the draft. He is not trading away 2 first-round draft picks for Roquan Smith. He's not, as good as he is. So where does he go? I think Miami is a team that would be stupid enough, even though they lost their first-round draft pick this year because of stupidity by their owner. So Miami would be an interesting team. Tennessee, who is looking for linebackers.
Yeah, lost 2 of them this offseason.
Yes, I think Tennessee, and I've been looking at this during our interviews on what teams would really stand out where he would fit. Philadelphia is another team.
Definitely.
When they have all those picks, they have 2 first-round draft picks this year. Philly would absolutely be a great team. And that they get Roquan Smith on that defense, forget it. I mean, that really solidifies their defense moving forward going into this year.
The Eagles would have went from, if they do that, they would have went from like arguably one of the worst linebacker cores in the league to one of the better ones. They got Hassan Reddick. They drafted Nakobe Dean. He's not going to play the whole season, but they drafted Nakobe Dean and they signed Kaiser White. And then they would trade for Roquan Smith too. That would be one insane overhaul if they did that.
Absolutely. And here's another team, the Raiders.
Yes.
Who have been looking for linebacking play, and they've been known over the years, and for all the great Raiders defenses, they've always been known for their linebackers. And I know everybody's going to say Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh already got Jack for practically nothing. Thank you to the Jacksonville Jaguars for handing him over. So it wouldn't be Pittsburgh, but I think the Raiders, Tennessee, Miami are the 3 teams that I think make sense. I just don't know if Miami's going to have enough after losing their first-round draft pick to land a player of that magnitude. So,
yeah, it's going to be interesting because those 3 teams all have the salary cap. I know Jeff brought up Atlanta. I don't think that makes a lot of sense because they just brought in Rashaan Evans and they still have Deion Jones, who's one of the best middle linebackers in the league.
And they're looking for a quarterback. Why would they trade their first-round draft pick next year when they could get their quarterback of the future? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, plus they have other needs on that defense too. Their corner core is pretty good. AJ Terrell had a great year last year. They signed Casey Hayward, and Richie Grant as a rookie safety had a pretty good year for them. But their pass rushers are not great, and they're outside of Grady Jarrett. They don't have a lot more beyond that on their whole defensive line. So I don't know if that really is an urgent need to push. Plus they lost another linebacker in Olakun this offseason. So I don't know if it really makes sense for them. I'm with you on the Raiders. I definitely could see them being that kind kind of move being a focal point.
McDaniel's there.
For
It
that,
makes sense.
yeah, for that kind of defense to go along with that great defensive line, that pass rush duo that they have now, bringing in Chandler Jones with Max Crosby. So now they get somebody to help their run defense, which has been iffy the last couple of years. The Raiders 2 years ago were one of the best run defenses in the league, and their pass defense was awful. Now it kind of reverted back to the other way around. So I definitely could see the Raiders as being a team to make that kind of move.
All three teams have salary room. So that if whoever gets him out of those three teams, they're going to be able to re-sign him and give him the extension. So he'll be happy with the money, and he'll be happy with any of those teams. And by the way, he has a good relationship with Tyreek Hill. So Miami would definitely be a team where if they can somehow make the move, but it's going to hurt them because they lost their first-round draft pick this year. Thank you to Mr. Ross.
Yeah, I think later in the process could be something for Miami to look at, because Chicago hasn't been the greatest at making trades either when it comes to, they've sold short on a lot of their top players that they've either traded away or didn't trade when they should have. And a lot of that defense from the 2018 defense that was the best in the NFL has gone now. And a lot of that defense is now young. So there's not much more they could get, and they haven't been able to get the value back as a whole with any young players or draft picks.
And then everybody will bring up Baltimore, but Baltimore don't like to spend money. No. So don't expect Baltimore to make that move. The Bengals don't like to spend money, so they're not going to make that move. Both teams could absolutely make the move for Roquan Smith because they have stock, definitely good young players and draft stock, and they have money. So, but they, as you know, with the whole Jackson situation, they haven't paid Lamar, so why would they pay Roquan? And the three teams that I mentioned make a lot of sense. It just makes a tremendous amount of sense. But the question is, will they do it? And here's another team that could surprise a lot of people, the Buffalo Bills. Now, they did give Von Miller a lot of money. If somehow they can maneuver, maybe trade away some of these young pieces and fit Roquan in that cap, I don't know if they could. He would be fantastic.
They only have $4.5 million right now.
Oh, so they could.
It's going to be hard for them too, because they have a lot invested with their linebackers already with Edmonds and Milano.
Could you imagine him on that?
That would be the best. That would be the best in the league for a 4-3 defense. Him, Edmonds, and Milano would be fantastic, but it would all be very pricey for a position that's not being high priced at this time.
I would love to see that, but it's not going to happen.
It's not the way you really build your team now. That's why I think it's more likely for a Raiders team that already has those two pass rushers in place already and some secondary pieces. Not a lot, but a couple good secondary pieces. And you brought up the Titans too as another option that I think
Titan makes sense. They make sense. They have money.
Yeah.
And they lost a lot of pieces.
Jayon Brown ironically went to the Raiders. Yes. So, and then Rashaan Evans ironically went to the Falcons, two teams we just mentioned. They brought in Zach Cunningham last year. That didn't really work. And now they to try something else like that in Mike Vrabel, that type of defense, I think that could definitely help him too. The Chargers are another interesting one too. If they're right now $13 million on the cap, they still have to sign Derwin James, but to help out their run defense, which was really bad last year. I don't think they're
going to do it. They're going to have to extend Derwin James. He's going to want a lot of money. He, to me, is the best safety in football. So he's going to want. I would say Derwin James. If I was Derwin James, he's
going to want top 5 safety money.
Yeah,
easily,
18, 19 million a year. That's what I want, and he's going to get it.
But I think in terms of figuring out that last big concept for the Chargers to take that leap, because run defense, they were the third worst run defense in the league. Roquan Smith definitely helped that a lot. You were talking about it where Roquan Smith didn't really develop into the all-around linebacker until probably year 3, but he was always a good run tackler. And that's what the Chargers need big time. They lost Kenneth Murray to an injury last year. They get him back, but we'll see how he comes back. And then outside of that, they lost, like I said, with the Eagles, they lost Kaiser White to the Eagles, so they don't have much depth beyond that. So I think that could be something that they should consider going after. You're right. I think I would prioritize paying Derwin James first, but in terms of a need, that is definitely something, and it's a great player too, so why not?
The Beef says Cowboys will have at least 11, 12 wins this year because of their defense, and they will carry the whole team. The defense will carry the Cowboys. I do not believe they're going to win 11 or 12 games this year, but we'll go over that a little bit later in next week. I think next week we'll we'll wait another week after that. We'll wait 2 weeks from now to go through each and every team, their strengths, their weaknesses, and what we think their records are going to be, and who do we think is going to sneak into the playoffs. And I will say this, there could be a lot of surprises this year in the NFC.
The NFC, yeah.
And in the AFC, there are quite a few teams that could fall out of it. And there's one specific team that I've been talking about who has been a top team in the AFC for many, many years, for the last 4 or 5 years, who I believe will probably miss the playoffs. But I'm not going to say it. I'm sure you're thinking where I'm going with that.
There's going to be a lot of good teams that miss in both the North and the West this year in the AFC.
It's crazy. I think when you look at the NFL and where the NFL is going with some of these teams, there are a lot of specific teams that are going to be a lot better this year. I mean, I'm not saying this because I'm a Jet fan. I expect the Jets to be a lot better this year. Then I also think that some of the bad teams are just going to get worse, like Jacksonville. I don't know how much better.
I mean, they can't get much worse than last year, though. I mean, that was just a whole debacle of a season with the Urban Meyers, all that crap that they went through.
All right.
Oh, he's here?
Kenny, what's up, man?
What's happening, guys?
What would you
for
like?
Some good interviews, and I'm following that guy's podcast.
There you go. He loves you.
He referenced you like 5 times.
He loves you, Kenny.
That's true.
Or maybe you can climb the Alps with him.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not a climber. I'm afraid of heights.
Oh, you're afraid of heights, man.
I'd rather take a class and conquer my fear by jumping out of a plane. That's what I'd rather do.
Why don't you just smoke a little wax and then you won't even have to worry about the fears?
No, I'm saying that I don't think I could spend a month up 20,000 feet. It's a little high.
It's a little high, but
you'll find something to smoke up there.
Yeah, you'll find something to smoke. You could smoke the ice.
I'm not saying that it's a little high. I'd rather jump out of a plane strapped to someone than drastically drop.
Would you rather be strapped to a guy or a woman?
Woman, most definitely.
Most definitely. Why? Why a woman?
I don't know. It'd be something fun to do together.
Ah.
All right. Question, Kenny. Now here's the big one. If there were a bunch of geese running up a mountain, how far could you make it up before you lost breath?
I think I'm done chasing geese. I think I'll make a video feeding geese, and then everybody will see that I feed geese. That's right.
Feeding geese? That's not the same as chasing geese.
The way to turn things around. I don't think that video would get seen as a hate speech or anything.
All right, so you chase squirrels now. What do you think about that?
No.
You like squirrels? You like squirrels?
They're all right.
They're all right. How about raccoons? You like them?
I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen a... Hold on one second. You've never seen a raccoon before in your life?
Not in my area, not where I just moved to. I've seen them before that.
Oh, okay. How about a possum? Have you ever seen one of those ugly bastards?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about them? Do they look like... Does that look like your long-lost cousin, you know?
No.
No?
You.
What? You don't think a possum looks like your long-lost cousin?
No.
Really?
Definitely not.
Really?
No.
Oh, if we put a hat on a possum, it'd probably look a little bit like you, right?
Oh, no. Very tall. They are not.
Stuck says Kenny would be strapped with the geese he was chasing. Well, he wouldn't have to chase them anymore if that was
I have
the
to
case.
say the Cowboys haven't been in the conference final in, 27 years?
Yeah, since 1996. Since their last
It's going to be 28 years.
Since
It's
their
gonna be
last
30
Super Bowl.
years, and yeah.
Yeah, since their last Super Bowl, they have not been in a conference championship game. And there's only two other NFC teams that have not been to a conference championship game, and those are the Washington and the Lions. So to put that in perspective, that's how bad the Cowboys have been in the playoffs.
At least the Jets aren't one of those teams.
No, that was just in the
Thank God.
in the NFC. I think the AFC only has a couple too. I think Miami, I think the Raiders, and
it's not the Jets,
Browns.
because
Not the Jets.
They were there back-to-back years.
Yeah, the Browns and the Texans. I think they're the teams of the AFC, because the Bengals were there, but then they just made it to the Super Bowl this year. So
Snug wants me to ask you, do you think possums are sexy?
No.
No? What do you think?
It's an animal.
From a grade from 1 to 10, would you think what would you think of the sexiness of a possum?
0.
A 0. You don't think they're sexy?
No.
Would you kiss
It's
one?
an animal.
Would you kiss
It's
one?
an animal.
It's
That's a no.
I'm not telling you to make love to it.
No, I wouldn't.
No? I would. If I was a person and I was like you, I wouldn't chase geese. I would chase possums, because they're scavengers, man, and they're mean.
Snug says possums are a solid 4.
Nah.
Well, Snug likes them. How about having a possum help you cook a cupcake? What do you think about that?
No.
No?
They're wild animals. I'm good.
So you don't want to bake with a
you want to have a
possum?
possum help you cook your eggs?
No, I'm good, man.
If you were Mr. Doolittle and and you actually could talk to animals, what kind of animal would you like to talk to?
I don't know. I like elephants. They're pretty cool.
You like elephants? What makes an elephant pretty cool? Explain.
They look really intelligent.
An elephant looks real intelligent?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen an elephant at a zoo?
Yeah.
How about an elephant just peeing wherever he wants and crapping wherever he wants? Does that make him look intelligent?
I think some of them do in the water too.
I like elephants.
You like elephants?
Yeah.
Would you take an elephant home and lay with one?
No, an elephant is huge. It's fine.
But you're huge. You're 6'5".
What is this with you and animals?
I'm not saying anything, but you're the one who told us that you chase geese. That's what you said. Now you want to feed them.
Video.
Now you want to feed them, right? And now all of a sudden I asked you, what would you like to chase next? And you won't even give me an answer to it. You don't want to chase anything.
I'm fine. I'm good not chasing animals.
Okay, so there is no more animal chasing for the great and powerful Oz, okay?
Kenny, you're supposed to. I guess we have to set up some kind of like Ace Ventura spinoff where you could talk to elephants and see what they're like.
Nah.
Could you imagine him talking to an elephant? I mean, seriously, and making the elephant sounds out of his nose. Could you imagine that?
If smokes enough, he probably could.
I think he could. I really do. I think Kenny could do anything. Did you send my my artwork yet?
I gotta do that.
You do have to do that. But Kenny, you are awesome, man. Keep listening to the show. Fantastic. Look, you made a new fan, Mark Pattison. You know, he runs Sports
the
Illustrated.
guy that sent me the link, right?
Yes, he loves you, man.
Your producer.
That's Speedy right there. But you go watch the video of what he did, winning.
Okay, then
the Emmy.
your streamer. Is he the guy that puts it on the internet?
Yes, that's Speedy right there. The other guy right across from me, right over here with the glasses on.
Then what's Mark do?
Mark
is
ex-NFL player.
Is a former NFL player. He does mountain climbing.
No,
He did the 7
the fan, but I meant,
summits.
who's the guy? Some guy started following me.
Somebody followed you? Who's this?
Who's the guy that sent me the link the other day?
That would be Speedy.
That was my email, but I didn't. I followed your Twitter, your TV account.
Okay, that was you.
That was me. Yes.
Look at you. You got a fan now. I mean,
yeah, I followed your Kenny TV or whatever.
You're a
your
superstar, Ken. You are a superstar. Glad to have
Snug's
you.
a fan. So there you go.
Of course, Snug's been a fan for a while.
Snug loves you. Snug loves you. Okay.
Not too many callers get a fan that's also a caller.
Yeah, there you go. So now
Snug says he also followed you on Twitter.
There you go.
All right, cool.
You're a star, man. You are a star. Kenny, thank you for calling, bud.
All right, and I'm going to call the other shows on the network.
There you go, man. Keep it up,
like,
man.
I'll call that Jets fan calling show, and I'll hate on the Jets.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you, Kenny. Thank you for hurting everybody's
I
feelings.
already told them that the Jets will always suck.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kenny, for your craziness.
All right.
Kenny is back, ladies and gentlemen, and being what Kenny has always been.
Snug says, "Are possums sexy? Possums are a solid 4. Speedy's dog is like an 8. Possums can help me anytime with cupcakes. I often chase the ice cream truck. Yay, Kenny! Kenny TV is blowing up.
Kenny TV. There is no Kenny TV. It was suspended.
All right, so now here's the next painting idea. So now Kenny on the elephant chasing geese.
That would be an interesting picture. Could
Great.
you imagine Kenny sitting on an elephant chasing?
It probably has to be like one of those wide, like large paintings, and just a whole field. Kenny just riding an elephant chasing geese.
You know, Kenny is a Giant fan, and he talks trash about the Jets, but what about his Giants? I mean, does he really think that the Giants are going to be better than the Jets this year? I don't know about that.
But no, he's right. He was in the Weapons Hot comment section trolling them.
Of course he does.
Trolling them. I'm like, oh, they already have guys doing that. Their own Jets fans.
We can have Kenny ride Jeff. I mean, that's the closest thing we have to an elephant. Just kidding, Jeff.
Jeff would probably say that would be Tyler, but then Tyler wouldn't be able to move. This would be his response.
Well, Tyler is an interesting cat himself. I mean, did you see Tyler's hair?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God, man. Oh my God.
Is it like getting balder?
What is he doing to himself? I mean, seriously.
At this point, he might just be better off dyeing his hair to at least to show some resemblance of color.
He doesn't have any hair anymore.
Exactly. At least dye it a vibrant
color. He wears
color
these
so
big glasses that his facial features just pop out at you, like scary pop out at you. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Tyler. I mean, if you ask me, Tyler needs to get out more, I think. Anyway, Snug says Tyler is bringing sexy back. Okay.
Yeah, right.
If that's what you call sexy.
Tyler and Kenny Tyler, Kenny, and my dog apparently on the list of Snug's sexy list.
Oh, look at this. Giants will be better than the Jets. Okay. I'll tell you what, Kenny. I'll make a bet with you. All right. You owe us a Thanksgiving dinner. Okay. If the Jets have a better record than the Giants this year, you, my friend, have to come out here and pay for a Christmas dinner. You will have to come out here and pay for Christmas dinner for all the people that are going to come out here.
And you have to make Errol a 6-egg meal.
6-egg meal.
Too, in addition to the Christmas dinner.
Snug says Tyler and Kenny out picking chicks. Are you kidding me?
Out picking up chicks?
would.
What would Kenny's pickup line be with that, Snug? I don't know what that would be.
Kenny, I chase geese.
I was chasing geese. Oh, sorry, I bumped into you. And then you just go on from there.
Do you have fur?
It's like double or nothing on the turkey dinner.
Kenny. Finishing up with Roquan Smith, ladies and gentlemen. I think where the other teams that we were talking about, Tennessee, and I believe that he's going to go to a team that needs him, but also a team that has the money that they can afford him. So the three teams that I predicted that could be a landing spot for him, there are quite a few other teams that you could look at that could have a chance in getting him. But more NFC teams than AFC teams because of how weak the NFC is. I don't know if an AFC team is going to make a move like that and bring in Roquan Smith. So I think it's going to be a better chance that an NFC team is going to get him than an AFC team.
The one other thing to wonder, too, is with a new GM now with Ryan Poyles in Chicago, is he going to be so stingy to realize, all right, this team isn't going to be going anywhere anyway. Let's get the best offer, where an NFC team might be able to afford to do that, or rather be stingy in the conference itself too, because I'm looking at a lot of the teams that have salary cap space. The Packers, who are in their own division, are a team that could definitely help them because they're a team that's had issues with run defense. Washington is a team that's had some injuries with veteran linebackers in the past too. And even a lot of the teams we mentioned as being rumored in the NFC are the ones with the salary cap. So probably the best offers would come from there. The Raiders, if they were to try to trade for it from the AFC, might not have as much. Same thing with the Titans too. Don't have a lot of draft stock and a lot of money kind of thing. So I know Jeff was saying Atlanta was going to be the one to make the push, but I just don't think that makes a lot of sense. But it'll be interesting to see what direction the Bears go in with that too, and how much his value could end up falling, because he's a young, pretty durable linebacker that can cover, and those things are very hard to find. That being said, it's not being valued as much in today's NFL, where you might not be able to get the multiple first round picks you would be for a pass rusher or a corner type thing, but you could still probably get a first round pick if you find the right team.
Oh, look who's calling back again. Kenny,
what? I'd say you're the guy that says what you are going to win if you win the bet. What if I win? What do I get?
What do you want? What do you want?
Not to make you a turkey dinner.
Not, but you have to make me a turkey dinner because.
So you're going to call off the great turkey dinner from 2018 just if the Giants finish a game better than the
Okay,
Jets.
how about the turkey dinner includes somebody that used to play on the Giants? You pick who.
Hold on one second. So here's the deal. If the Giants have a better record than the Jets, I'll take you out to a turkey dinner and I'll bring Brandon Jacobs along. How's that? And I'll pay for him so you get to meet Brandon Jacobs. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Okay, but if you lose, now you're gonna have to do something for me.
It's a Christmas dinner with all the fixings.
You gotta go to Christmas dinner and you have to make a painting of you sitting on an elephant chasing geese into the water.
Oh, I have an option too.
I don't know if I could paint that, but
Brandon Jacobs brings his
I may
son
not
and
have
he
to paint
tackles
that.
Kenny.
That's a good idea.
Brandon Jacobs, 300-pound offensive lineman son has to tackle you.
That's even better. I don't think he would do that. I don't think he wants to kill Kenny. He's twice the size. Kenny, this kid's 15 years old. He's 6'6", over 300 pounds.
Yeah, he's 6'6", 305, and he's like 50, 60 pounds bigger than Brandon is right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. But we'll figure it out. But yeah, let's do it. I have no problems making that bet with you, Kenny.
All right.
It's a bet.
All right.
Good old Kenster calling up again, making bets. But we'll get Brandon to come out. I've already talked to Brandon about it. I'm going to take Brandon and his son out to a game. What was the
You
deal?
said the Giants-Jets game next year if they're both competitive.
Well, yes, and I'm going to do that. That was my bet with them, and he already said he'll come. So it's on me. I'm going to take him. We'll get good seats, and it'll be on me. It'll be fun. It'll be fun going to a Giant game and watching Brandon go crazy about his team if they're losing. So
Stuck says you take him to Miller's Ale House for barbecue wings and lemonade. He has to be nude in the painting. Oh God, do we really want to go there, Snug?
I do not want to see Kenny nude. Okay, that's for damn sure. I do not want to see Kenny nude, but it'd be interesting.
Snug, if you want to go see Kenny nude, you make the painting.
I think Jeff would be interested in seeing Kenny nude. Don't you think?
I don't know about Jeff.
I haven't heard from Jeff.
That doesn't seem like something that would be of his interest.
My birthday is next week. What's everyone getting me? Is it his birthday next week? It's Jeff's birthday next week.
Sure. I wouldn't have known.
He likes cash. Jeff likes cash. So we'll figure it out. I'll get Jeff something. I mean, he didn't get me anything for my birthday. I mean, it was my 40th. I mean, Jeff did nothing. He did absolutely nothing for my 40th birthday. He pretty much told me to go to hell. All right.
He probably criticized the Jets in your honor.
Yeah, but he wants me to, give him cash. So how about I get him a bottle of something and send it to him? What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Nice, big, huge bottle of something.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a variety of different options of that. So says I could get you a nude autographed Kenny.
No, thank you.
Oh, God.
I'm sure he would do it for you. I mean, if you want to autograph naked picture of Kenny,
you could just do it for yourself. I'm sure you would just do a bunch of them and put them all over your desk or whatever.
I think it would be interesting to see Kenny and Snug with their arms around each other, naked, and then signing it together, and a Snug and a little cat fur over there. You know what?
Cat fur. And some geese while you're at it. Some geese feathers.
Geese feathers for Kenny and cat fur for Snug. That would be interesting, right?
All with an elephant in the background.
An elephant?
All with an elephant.
How about them sitting on an elephant
Yeah,
together?
there you go.
That would be funny.
Oh, here it is. Perfect. So the cat and geese fur and feathers on them, both nude, sitting on the elephant while the elephant has a giant cupcake in its It's Tusk or whatever it is. I forget what the name of it is.
No, I think them just sitting on it naked together.
All right,
I think
fine.
it'll be fine.
Fine.
Kenny in front, by the way. As Snug is sitting in the back.
Jeff says Kenny, Snug, and Aaron Rodgers all geeked up on ayahuasca. Would be epic. Snug says, "LOL, I'd sign in Capper with Kenny." Ayahuasca. That is a cool name. I don't know what it is, but it's a cool name.
I think Kenny just left because he doesn't want to hear it anymore. But I love Kenny. Kenny is a funny dude, man. He really is. Definitely happy to have him back and listening to the show and being Kenny. And by the way, Mark Pattison really liked him.
Yeah, he mentioned it like 5 times. in the
Yeah, he
interview.
likes him.
Kenny, perfect for the 83 Super Bowl champion Raiders. So now, if time travel does exist, that is a scenario we have to see. Kenny hanging out with the 83 Raiders.
Snug says, I'd love to trip balls with Kenny and Aaron Rodgers. That would be interesting. Kenny, Aaron Rodgers, and Snug tripping. Could you imagine that?
The cycle of Kenny. Where will he end up next?
He'd probably think he was a goose, you know? And he'd probably sit there, you know, thinking that
So
the
that he
geese
could
are
chase himself.
his family.
Yeah. So then he chases himself. That's after he gets
Crossing the street
I am
with
one
the
of
geese.
you. I am one of you. And then the geese just run. I'm like, nah, you're not worthy.
Could you imagine him follow? You know how geese cross the street?
Yeah.
And Kenny's on his hands and knees pretending he's a goose or something. That would be funny.
Geese crossing side, except Kenny.
That would be funny. Anyways, the Knicks are looking to facilitate a 3-way deal with the Lakers and the Utah Jazz. This is going to be very, very hard. And I'm going to tell you why. Because most people that bring in, you know, most teams that bring in 3-way trades, 3-team trades, the team that is getting the better player has to give up the most. And you look at the Knicks, the best player in this trade would be Donovan Mitchell, okay? Which means we were talking about the Knicks not have to giving away, you know, Obi Toppin, Grimes, or Quickly. Now I'm hearing that the Knicks are going to have to give 2 out of the 3 away and 7 first-round draft picks. Even bringing in Russell Westbrook in the trade. If I'm the Knicks, I don't do it. I'm not doing it because I'm giving away my future. Yeah, Donovan Mitchell's a fantastic player. I like him a lot. I think he's great. Does he fit the culture of the New York Knicks? Does he give you that boost that's going to give you an opportunity to compete for a championship? And the answer is no. So to get rid of Grimes, who is really in the summer league, he looked fantastic. He was one of the best players throughout the league in the summer league. That's how good he was. Go look at the video and the shooting ability that he had and his shots getting better. I told everybody, you know what it reminds me of? Devin Booker. He reminds me of Devin Booker. But to give up, by the way, Jeff is saying they won't be giving up 7 picks. Some of what they will do is swap offer swaps. That's not what I'm reading. I'm reading that to get Donovan Mitchell and bring in a 3-way trade, Russell Westbrook would have to go to Utah. They buy him out. Utah would get 4 first-round draft picks and Grimes, and the Lakers would get 3 first-round draft picks. They would get rid of Russell Westbrook's contract, which they'd have room to bring in another player, which then they get back some of their first-round draft picks, which the Knicks are, you know, giving them away and giving them back to. So they would have to be close to 7. That's what I'm hearing. So I don't know how this makes sense for the Knicks.
No, not at all. That is way too much. There's not a single player that is worth that price. One individual player. Donovan Mitchell's a great young player, no question. But you're talking about that type of hefty package maybe only applying to somebody like Luka Doncic, and that might be it. Maybe Giannis. That's probably it in the league of players I would take for that. For a player, those are young players that are young and durable and well-rounded. Like that's what it would take. 7 first-round picks and you're losing 2 young players is just total insanity. And the Lakers are in a tough spot too. And I guess that's why they were trying to bring themselves in to help out with this kind of thing, try to get some extra draft picks to help with this kind of operation. So now you're going to give them 3 picks. You're going to give the Jazz 4, and you're giving them 2 young players, and you're just getting 1 player in Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell's great, but what if he gets hurt? Donovan Mitchell, what if he doesn't mesh well? What if he doesn't improve? Like, that's the price that it comes for with 7 picks and all those players. It's too much.
And in 3 years, Donovan Mitchell could opt out and go somewhere else. And then you could be just like the Brooklyn Nets were when KG and Paul Pierce decided to retire.
Right.
They didn't want to be there anymore.
There's too much to risk on 1 player for doing all of that. All the manipulation for draft picks, contract. I know you, Jeff, you were saying pick swaps, but that still is something that could be a drastic difference in picks. It's not worth it for 1 player. Danny Ainge, if he's thinking this is realistic, you have to stop. It's not. There is, again, those 2 players I listed, Giannis and Luka Doncic, maybe are the only 2 players that might be worth it at this point for that hefty.
You know what they're going to say? You know what Jeff's going to say? It's very simple. Those picks are not lottery picks with the Knicks. And
Which
if
is
they get
understandable.
if they get Donovan Mitchell, they're a top 7, top 8 team. So they make the playoffs every year. So they're going to be out of the lottery stakes and the 14 top picks. So obviously that's why Jeff probably says that 7 first-round draft picks are really 7 second-round draft picks if they get Donovan Mitchell.
Maybe, but you have to play well in order to do that. So, by the way, Jeff is on.
What's up, Jeff?
How are you, gentlemen?
We're good, man.
Yeah, you're not going to give up 7 picks because you can't give 7 picks in a row anyways. The most you can do now is every other year.
Every other year, but you can give up 7 picks.
Right, but that's not going to happen. They're not going to wait 14 years to cash in on all of these picks.
Well, they have Dallas's pick coming up this year in the first round. So that's 2 first-round draft picks this year. And not next year after that, but the year after that, I'm pretty sure the Knicks have 2 first-round draft picks there.
They got 1 from Detroit, and they got
4.
1. Yeah, they got the 1 from the Hornets. Oh no, not the Hornets.
No, Detroit.
Detroit and OKC. That's what it was. OKC.
They have. Yeah.
But what you're not factoring in is the idiot tax. No one wants to go there, right? So you have to eventually pay a tax to get somebody that would attract other players. It happens everywhere. You got to pay the idiot because it's either that or let's wait 2 years until he's a free agent, which it doesn't seem like the Knicks want to do.
No, they don't, because in 3 years, he'd be 28 years old. And then you're going to have to pay him over $200 million because that's what he's going to be demanding. And with the new CBA, what was it? Was it 3 more years? And then the new CBA has to be negotiated again. So you're talking about, right now, players of other teams, your own team can make over $200 million. I believe in 3 years, it doesn't matter what team you're playing for or what team you're coming from, you're going to make $200 million. So
just pay it and be done with it, and then you'd be better quicker because, I mean, listen, what's the point of having the 26th, 7th, 8th pick? Like, they're going to be a good team, right? They're going to be 24th, 25th, like in that. And I know some of those guys can end up being good players. Can we just be honest? 99% of the time they blow donkey balls.
You're probably right.
But
knowing the Knicks luck,
don't mean anything.
But knowing the Knicks luck, 2 out of the 5 or 2 out of the 7 are going to be sensational superstar players.
It doesn't matter because that might not be the guy that the Knicks would have picked.
Well, that's true.
It doesn't translate because if you have Donovan Mitchell on your team and the Jazz draft a point guard and that point guard ends up being the next Michael Jordan, well, it doesn't matter for you because you wouldn't have taken a point guard.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at it that way. Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can look at it, Jeff. There's a lot of ways.
It just is what it is, man. So just pay the tax, get your guy, and be done with it.
I think eventually the Knicks will bite down and they'll make this move. We had 2 Knick experts on the show, and both of them said that this trade is going to go all the way into almost camp. It's not going to happen right away. I think eventually they're going to agree to something and they're going to make the swap, but it's not going to happen.
You guys can trade Mekhi Becton to Utah.
Maybe. I mean, right now, Mekhi Becton.
Fat pig. What's he been doing in New York? Has he just been hanging out at the buffets with Tyler the whole time he's been there?
He lost 40 pounds as fast as he did. So
did he lose 40 pounds?
He lost 40
pounds.
Just
take a shit?
No, he lost 40 pounds. They said he lost 40 pounds in 2 months. That's a lot.
I mean, That's way too much to lose in 2 months. Like that's
it was 400
that's
pounds when they weighed him going into camp when it opened. He was, I think, 352.
Well, think about how bad that is, right? Like, think about even being 400 pounds. Like, even at that height and whatever, like that's a lot of weight, dude. It's a lot of weight. That's Zion Williamson stuff.
Yeah, Zion Williamson's muscle. There's a difference there.
No, he's not all muscle. Stop lying to yourself.
But he's not fat. He's not all
Stop
fat.
lying to you. He is fat. He is fat. That's why his shoes blew out in college was because he's fat.
Dude,
and now he's gotten
go
fatter
look
in
at
New Orleans.
Go look at Zion Williamson. He is not
He
fat,
loves that
dude.
gumbo.
He is
He
not
is
fat.
fat.
He is not.
He's
fat.
a fat pig.
Go. Do you want me to send you pictures of him?
Then why? If he wasn't fat, then why was it New Orleans wouldn't play him until he lost weight? It's because he was fat.
I don't know, because I watched him quite a few times, and obviously not last year because he was hurt, but the year before that, he looked pretty damn good, and he did not look
And
fat.
I think it's an optical illusion to you. You don't really know what fat is because you've been looking at Tyler for so long that like everything else just seems skinny all of a sudden.
I'm telling you that Zion Williamson is not fat. He's just a built muscle.
He's fat.
He's muscle, dude. He's muscle toned. Go look at him. Go look at him 2 years ago. He's not.
I know he's fat.
He's not. He's not fat. What are you talking about? He's not.
They wouldn't play him until he lost weight. That was the whole thing. And Charles Barkley's ripping into him. You're too fat because all these other things. He was fat. He was overweight. They wouldn't play him. Why? Fat.
That's coming from Jeff, ladies and gentlemen.
That's not coming from me. That was coming from everyone in the NBA, Charles Barkley included. Charles Barkley got in trouble on TV, remember? Oh, Zion Williamson's too fat, and everyone was like, "Oh, he's fat shaming."
Let's take
Zion
advice.
Williamson was fat.
Let's take advice from a guy that's overweight himself. I mean, seriously.
He can be overweight. He ain't playing no more. When he was playing, he dropped weight all the time.
Dude, he was
and
overweight.
He was in good shape.
Dude, he was overweight when he played too. Remember him on Phoenix?
Oh, he was in good shape when he was in Phoenix.
Dude, he was also
in good shape. He lost weight. He even did the whole podcast thing and said he lost weight so he could go play with so he could be good with Dan Marley and Kevin Johnson.
Dude, Zion Williamson is just built like an ox. He's not fat. Where do you see fat? Go look at his pictures. Go look at his pictures. Where is he fat? Dude, the guy is built like an ox. No, he's not. He's built like an ox. Go look at his arms. Go look at his arms. He probably has one of the biggest.
A big dude.
Oh, dude, he is a big dude. He is not fat. He's muscular. He's lugging around a lot of muscle, and doing that, you put a lot of weight on your ankles and your knees. He is built like an ox, dude. There's no way he's fat. All right, I see them post up.
There's no way he's fat.
No, dude.
So there's no way he's fat. But Zion Williamson's contract has a weight and body fat percentage clause. Because that's not that, and they put that in there because he isn't fat.
They put it in there because they want him to stay healthy. That's
right. That's what it is. I always see super skinny people, and we put in your contract a clause just to keep you skinny.
Go look
at
Zion Williamson.
It's like the Kyler Murray thing. It's like the Kyler Murray.
The year
thing.
before last year when he was playing, you're going to tell me Zion Williamson was fat?
Zion Williamson last year, fat. I don't care what you say.
He was not. He was not.
Then why, when they gave him this new contract, did they put in a weight and body fat percentage clause? Because he was fat.
Because they want him to stay healthy, and that's the way they can get out of it if he doesn't.
It might be a way to get it quicker too, or have to be more motivated in that sense. Not because they wouldn't play him otherwise. Last year, I think also they didn't want to.
I'm looking at his pictures from last year. Not last year, the year before that when he was playing. The guy is in physically great shape.
Right, the year before, and then he got hurt and just sat around at Panda Express with Tyler, and he ballooned up.
Snook says Zion is the king of the Benet. Thunder Dan and Tracy McGrady had that weight thing in his contract too. LOL.
No, he did.
And by the way, and right, Charles Barkley gets brutal with overweight Zion Williamson because he wasn't fat, right? There's a shit ton of articles here. It's like the first thing that comes up every time, but it's because he wasn't fat. He was in an all right weight. He got hurt and he blew up like a tick. He looked like Tyler last year.
Well,
go up like a tick. That's why they put the weight thing in. And it's also a dangerous thing because people have to put weight clauses in your contract. Dude's like 21. It's only going to get, what do you think? Your metabolism gets better? It gets worse. Ask Tyler.
Yes, Tyler.
And Tyler, I think Tyler during the draft was one that was bashing him for that, ironically.
I mean, the dude's 21 is already having a weight issue, so they put a weight clause in his contract. Everyone's calling fat Charles Barkley. Everyone. He couldn't play last year because he got hurt and he ballooned up and he got fat. And you're trying to say, oh, he's not fat. Yeah, no, he got fat last year. Maybe not the year before. Last year, he got fat. He did.
Well, when he was drafted, he was 280 pounds of muscle. Okay. He was 280 pounds of muscle.
Great. That's fine. What about last year? When he got drafted was now 3 years ago. When he got drafted was now 3 years ago.
When people said that guy was overweight and stuff like that, he took off his shirt. He had a six-pack.
I don't know how old is he. How old is he?
22.
21 or 22?
He's 22. He's 22. He was drafted in 2019. Yeah.
6'6", 284 pounds.
Right, but even at 22, should a 22-year-old have a fat clause in their contract?
I don't know.
Go back. Hey,
I don't look at everybody. I don't look at everybody's contracts, and
it doesn't even matter. You can just use common sense, right? Just use common sense. Go back. Just close your eyes and in your brain go. What did Charles Barkley look when he was drafted? Much smaller. Oh my God. What did Shaquille O'Neal look like when he got drafted? And then Shaq looks like he got stung by a bee and blew up by the end of his career. Didn't he?
The Diesel. Well,
the Diesel that apparently got stung by a bee.
So but the Shaq isn't going to get better.
Shaq at one point, when he not went to Orlando when he came into the league, but when he went to LA, he was getting fat. He was getting fat.
Right, yeah. Right. But all I'm saying is look at guys at the beginning of their career when they just come out of college, which basically Zion just did. He's 3 years in. Who cares, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Every one of these guys was small and skinny and whatever. And it's a problem. This early in your career, you have a weight clause in your contract because the weight thing isn't going to get better.
No, but it also is something too, and this probably relates to the Becton thing as well. Somebody that big being asked to do everything that he does too, because that was a big thing that like everyone loved him for, was being a freak athlete, not just being big. Like he's skilled, he's fast too, and that was one of the things that they got him for. The same thing we were talking about with Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton was highly touted out of the draft because he moved so well for his size at 340 pounds.
Mekhi Becton was a reach. He wasn't even the dude there. No one was talking about him, and they reached and got him. There were other dudes in that draft. That was a very tackle heavy draft.
Yeah, Wirfs went later, and he's been great.
He was big. That's why they liked him. They should have known from the very beginning. Louisville is not a football school. Never take someone from Louisville. They all stink.
Well, yeah, but even so. You're right. Tristan Wirfs would have been the better pick there because he's been an all-pro player as a right tackle. But also think about that was why he was highly touted for being a unique prototype. But at the same time, somebody of that body type too is not going to be one that's going to stay healthy. And now they're seeing it twice. And that's the same problem with a lot of these tight ends that get hurt all the time now too. They're trying to put them in more speed roles and in a faster game, and it's just sometimes it's backfired for those positions too, with tackles, tight ends, even some guys that are bulk linebackers, pass rushers, stuff like that.
But you don't want to take a young dude that's already big. You don't want to do that. You don't want to take a Mekhi Becton or a Zion Williamson because, like I said, the weight problem only gets worse. Like, look at Chet Holmgren. Is anyone complaining Chet Holmgren is too skinny? No one's complaining he's too skinny because they're going to send him on vacation for a week with Tyler, and all of a sudden he's going to come back looking like a god, right? It's easier to put weight on than it is to take weight off.
Oh, poor Tyler. I mean, he's not even security guarding anymore, I was told.
Oh.
Yeah. I was told that he needs time away from everybody, but every time I see him time away from everybody, he's drinking or doing something else.
Maybe he should go chase geese like Kenny.
For not having him there.
That bar got safer for not having him there.
He should go chase geese like Kenny.
Right, but like that's the problem you want to have. You want to have the Chet Holmgren problem where they're like, oh, let's take this kid out to eat every night. Like that's the problem you want. You don't want the Zion Williamson problem where you're like, dude, lock up the cabinets at night. Put a lock and chain on the refrigerator for this fat pig. Let's starve him.
Let's starve him.
I don't think that would be very good either, but okay.
Right. Yeah, because it's not good. It's healthy. It actually hurts your muscles and does other things. It's really detrimental to you.
Yes.
Right. So that's the problem. Like, he's 22. He should be in the best shape of his life. He shouldn't be looking like old man Shaquille O'Neal at this point in his career.
No.
Because he's fat.
Thank you, Jeff.
He is. He's fat. No?
We really appreciate your take, by the way.
It's a good take. He's fat. He's fat. He's Black Tyler.
It's Black Tyler.
Stuck says, nothing better than a quiet evening at home with a bottle of strawberry Henny. Check out Sean Kemp before and after as well.
I've seen Sean Kemp before, but
Dude, Sean Kemp was a god when he was young, and then he got really fat.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He did.
They all get fatter, right? So to 22 years old, is this a good thing to have? Probably not.
Well, Herschel Walker didn't get fatter. He got skinnier.
He got dumber.
Why did he get dumber?
Have you heard that dude talk lately?
Yeah, he's running. Yeah, he's running for some kind of political thing now in Georgia.
Walker?
Yeah, Herschel Walker.
Yeah, he's running for Senate in Georgia. You should hear some of his speeches. They are wild. It's literally as if Aaron Hernandez's brain is running for Senate.
Oh, God. That bad, huh?
It can't be that bad.
Don't take my word for it. Just go listen to him talk.
Is he a Republican or Democrat?
Yes, he's a Republican.
That's why he hates him. I've got it.
You think that's why you think that's why I hate him at all? Dude, do yourself a favor. Go watch some of the speeches. Get back to me.
I will.
Just go watch them for yourself. No commentary here. Just go watch them for yourself.
I'll check it out.
Get back to me.
I'll check it out. Why not?
Yeah.
I'm not into the politic thing, but I'll check it out.
He is an interesting human. That's for sure. You would think that this dude played football without a helmet.
He probably did. I mean,
well, he didn't.
Well,
we've seen all of his games. All of them had helmets.
He did play for the Cowboys, you know.
Well, that's just terrible luck. You know what I'm saying? You can't hold that against him.
Well, he played for the Cowboys in the 80s when they didn't win a Super Bowl.
That's right.
So he's the only like old cowboy you could say that didn't win a Super Bowl. Well, not the only one, but one of the only ones that you can say didn't win a Super Bowl. Now it's you're lucky if you get to a conference championship game.
Snug says Kenny in 2024. Kenny for president.
Oh,
could you imagine?
By the way, you saw the video. I'm going to bring this up again just because of just how hard it made me. Right? You saw the video of Jordan Davis just plowing through people, correct?
Yes, you made note of it on Twitter, Jeff. I know.
Did you guys not hear me when I was talking about the draft and I was like Jordan Davis, by the way, like Jordan Davis? Who did I want the Patriots to get?
Yes,
there?
I remember.
Jordan Davis.
Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis.
I didn't see the video. I have to check out the video.
Dude, he plows over the Eagles starting center like the dude wasn't even standing there. Didn't he, Speedy?
Yeah, no, he would have thought Jordan Davis was probably 100 pounds bigger than him, and it's actually one of the Eagles, I think, third biggest linemen or something like that.
Dude, do you want to know what it looks like? Honestly, I think because this would be a decent comparison of how it looks.
Send it to me,
because you got to keep in mind that it's two professional football players, but it honestly looks like a high school senior taking on a high school freshman.
Now, Jeff, which lineman was it? Was it Landon Dickerson or was it the rookie center they just drafted?
I think it was the rookie kid they just drafted.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. I think I found something. Hold on. I'm looking. I'm trying to find it.
Go to the Twitter machine and just type in Jordan Davis.
Oh, I'm watching it right now. Oh, he's just toying.
He's got that dude on roller skates, bro.
Yeah.
But isn't that what it looks like? Doesn't it look like a high school senior taking on like a high school freshman? Like that, like the freshman's just so overmatched.
Yeah, but it looks like a lot smaller of a guy. You know what?
Well, it's a center.
Yeah.
And you're also forgetting that Jordan Davis is probably the largest human on that football team. Might even be one of the biggest dudes in the whole league.
Yeah, but that center dude, he looks thin. He doesn't look that big.
Yeah, he's
They're
not a big
professional
center,
football player. They're both professional football players.
but I also think I saw something. He's the third biggest lineman on the Eagles.
If Kelsey was there, I don't think he'd be pushing Kelsey like that. You know what I mean?
Let's see it. Let's get the matchup going because Jordan Davis is going to be dry humping Dak Prescott up and down the field when they play. And it's going to be glorious. Pig Mike is going to be all sad.
Pig Mike. It's the beat.
He thinks he's sad about this Truba thing. Wait till Dak Prescott has his left foot on backwards.
Thank you, Jeff.
Can't wait to watch Jordan Davis pull off one of Dak Prescott's limbs and take it home like a trophy. And then he'd probably feed it to Zion Williamson.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. Oh, God. Jeff from Tampa, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful guy. He really is.
Well, we got a little bit of everything in Jeff's call. Bashing Tyler, bashing the Jets, bashing the Cowboys, and praising Jordan Davis. All in one.
We got Mike that called earlier. Then we had Kenny, and now Jeff. Wonderful.
Kenny twice, keep it in mind.
Yeah, well, Kenny
he
wanted
had to make his bets.
Well, he wanted to make the bet, but just remember, Kenny has to, he has to do something else. It's not just that.
Yeah, that's right.
I have to figure out something else that he has to do. But Jeff is a fine gentleman, as what Snug says. So, obviously there's some kind of infatuation with Snug and Jeff for some reason. I don't know what it is, but it's an infatuation.
As indicated, Jeff is a fine gentleman. And Jordan Davis is amazing.
The Yankees lose Matt Carpenter for a foot fracture yesterday, late last night against Seattle. It's a big loss. It is a real big loss. If you're a Yankee fan right now, the Yankees are fighting injury right now and bad injuries. Yeah. I mean, you lost Giancarlo Stanton for a significant amount of time. Anthony Rizzo. Now you're losing a play of this magnitude. And Matt Carpenter has been the heart and soul since he's come to the Yankees. Besides, obviously, Aaron Judge, the second best hitter in the Yankees was who?
Carpenter.
Matt Carpenter.
Second best OPS on the team.
Yeah, so to lose him, it's a significant loss. And broken foot, I mean, you're talking about at least 3 months. Mm-hmm. At least 3 months. So Jeff says, I want that $1K I lost out on for fighting Tyler.
Oh.
That wasn't my fault.
The fight that shouldn't have happened.
Tyler didn't want to fight you.
Yeah.
That wasn't my fault.
That's not your fault. You did all the planning of that. But yeah. Yeah, Carpenter.
He was afraid.
Yeah. Carpenter, going back to that, though, he was that extra spark that the Yankees needed. We knew Judge was gonna, if he's healthy, he's gonna do his thing. Stanton, when healthy, he's gonna do his thing. Yeah. But who was that random guy, that breakout guy? That was Matt Carpenter in the Yankees lineup. And from a power standpoint too, drove in runs, hitting the clutch. He did a lot of different things for that Yankee team out of nowhere too. This was a guy that, his last great season was 2018, was bumping around the minor leagues and with the Cardinals, then with the Rangers. This is a guy that hadn't played and all of a sudden got rebirthed that way. And that's something that a team can rally around too. And it's just not going to be the same kind of thing without him. Now they're going to have to find somebody else that's sort of that role.
What is it with the Yankee fans? Now, did anybody think that the Yankees were going to just run away with the American League? Now, I told everybody that the Yankees were going to go through a skid like this where they're going to lose 7 or 8 games, and then they'll win 5 or 6 games. This is the Yankees, guys, and this is the way the Yankees play. What the Yankees need to do is try to get healthy before the playoffs, because that's where they're going to have to show themselves to be the team that we expect them to be. Who is that, Jeff again?
Jeff again.
What's up, Jeff?
The question was, what is it with Yankee fans? And I have the answer.
Oh, God, yeah.
They're the worst people on the planet. They're New Yorkers. They're mouth breathers. They don't even deserve to live. These people are atrocious. They're throwing bottles at Guardians players. They threw a ball at Verdugo. They're starting fights in the stands. They are scumbags.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. He's gone.
Oh, Jeff. It wouldn't be a show without Jeff, but his hatred for New Yorkers is ridiculous. I have a lot of respect for him, his takes on certain things, but to take shots at New Yorkers the way he does, and I don't care what he says, even though he says that Boston people could be all that too, he never puts down Boston people. Never. He never does. I think he thinks they're perfect.
Yeah, I'm
But,
sure he does.
You know, even though how many analysts have we had on the show tell us that Boston fans are the worst?
Mm-hmm.
So, and he won't admit to it because that's Jeff.
And the former player, Josh Towers.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Towers told us straight out. He said how bad Boston fans
Yeah.
are.
He said 2 different occasions. Once when he was with the Orioles, once he was with the Blue Jays.
He said they're absolutely ridiculous and racist. So, whatever. I mean, but to get back with the Yankees, I think where the Yankees have to be, and this gives a chance for Miguel Andujar to prove himself where the Yankees can move him in the offseason.
Yeah.
But, I mean, tonight it's 0-0. It's the 6th inning. They're not hitting. And this has been
They're getting shut out by Luis Castillo, who they almost traded for.
And then Garrett Cole, who's been pitching well in this game.
Yes.
He pitched like crap the last game he pitched, but he's pitching well in this game. But is he going to be able to hold this up? I mean, being that it's in Seattle, and I don't know, man. The Yankees are starting to worry me because I'm happy that Zach Britton's coming back. There was a story that came out after this absolutely bad 2 weeks for the Yankees that Zach Britton is coming back a lot faster than anybody thought he was. And to lose King, and Zach Britton wasn't 100% healthy the year that he tore his UCL. He actually said that he was playing with a partially torn UCL.
Yeah.
So that's probably why he wasn't the same pitcher. I think this year he's going to be 100% healthy. I think this is a big, gain for the Yankees, especially losing King the way they did.
Yeah, and you're not. I don't think you're going to expect Britton to come back the same way as he was, like his peak form. But at least somewhere in between that and what he was last year would be a big boost for the Yankees bullpen for sure. Plus
another
another
strong
lefty.
arm.
Yeah, another lefty too never hurts. Play matchups when you need to be able to win those tight postseason games too. And also, teams don't have a lot of tape on him because he hasn't pitched much recently. That might be an advantage for the Yankees. Maybe Zach Britton's developing a different type of pitching style too to counter what got him hurt in the first place.
Another pitch.
Yeah, we see pitchers do that. They try to change their pitching style. Look at CC Sabathia towards the end of his career when he had all those injuries. He became more of a finesse pitcher later in his career after he was one of the hardest throwers in the league in his peak.
Yep.
So maybe Zach Britton does something similar where teams get caught off guard with that.
It's so fun to watch, the different players that get called up, the different players that are, obviously playing the way they have throughout the season for the Yankees, but they're not going to win every game.
Right.
They're just not. And right now the hot team in New York is the Mets. They're the hot team. They're the ones that are playing very well. I mean, I think in the last 13 games, I think they've won 8 of them. I mean, they've played as good of, baseball as you possibly can. And that has a lot to do with Jacob deGrom's return. And I told everybody, and I hear all these Met fans saying, I don't want to extend him. Jacob deGrom is the best pitcher in baseball. It's not even an argument. Anybody that's going to say Jacob deGrom came back from all those injuries and still is dominant.
Mm-hmm.
He's still a dominant pitcher.
Hasn't missed a beat.
It's unbelievable how good he really is. It's like, and not only is he a power pitcher, he's a finesse pitcher. He could throw a curveball. He could throw a slider. I mean, the guy is a tremendous, tremendous talent. And you want to know something? The Mets would be dumb because he's going to opt out of the contract. There'll be teams lining up for him. They don't care about his injuries because when he does play, he wins.
Yep.
Or he doesn't give up more than 1 run.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. It really is. He's insane. And if he were to retire right now, I don't care what his record is. He's a Hall of Famer.
Well, yeah, record, I hope, would not be an indicator of that based on how little run support he got in his career, especially the last 3 years. But yeah, the Baseball Hall of Fame is better at looking at those as not being as big of starting pitching indicators. But yeah, Jacob deGrom's even going even with those 76 pitch limits that he's had the first couple games. I think the first start he had 72. He's still really powerful all the way to the end too. It doesn't seem like he's losing velocity. It doesn't seem like he's losing a lot with his location either. And I think he's only had 1 really bad inning so far, the 4th inning in his first start against the Braves. And that's really been it so far. Like that's how dominant he's been right out of the gate too. Now we'll see on the length later on, but they'll ease him back in where he could pitch 7 innings.
He'll
again.
be fine.
And that's what they'll need him to be for the postseason.
He'll be fine. And Max Scherzer's been unbelievable too. I mean, we expected this. I told Met fans that they have 2 dominant pitchers, top 5 pitchers in the league, and they're going to play a big part. But if I was a Met fan and I sit and I listen to Josh and say, oh, coaching staff and obviously management decided not to go after a big name. They went after Juan Soto. The Nationals were not trading Juan Soto in a division, in their division where they have to see him 17 times.
Mm-hmm. Not only that, you're in a rivalry, in a bidding war of the Padres, what they gave up, which was a lot to begin with, which we expected. The Mets were going to have to probably double that in order to get him at that point. So it was going to be very difficult considering what the Padres offered, because Mackenzie Gore, CJ Abrams were all first round picks, top prospects. And then you got the first and third best in their prospect system right now, their farm system right now. The Mets would have had to do guys currently on their roster plus Alvarez and Beatty to make that work, and maybe one more.
And final story of the night. And by the way, I will be here on Thursday, but I'll be a little bit later. Josh is filling in with me. Josh is filling in for me for the first hour and a half, and then I'll be back the last hour and a half to finish the show. So I will be here. I just won't be here for the beginning of the show because I'm taking care of an event that I'm going to be hosting. Chris Sale breaks his wrist. Biking accident, likely done for the season. This is not a big story because the Red Sox aren't making the playoffs. But I think the Red Sox are going to have to really think real hard what they're doing with Chris Sale going into the offseason. Chris Sale got the extension, 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. He has not stayed healthy. Everybody said that throwing motion was going to affect his arm as he got older. It has. He's making a lot of money. If I were the Boston Red Sox, as soon as I know that he is 100% healthy going into next year, I would move him. That's all I'm going to say about that. There's really nothing else more to say.
Here's the other thing, too. If you're Chris Sale and you know that you're dealing with all these injuries and you're trying to get back, we were talking about it last week or a couple of weeks ago with that when he had that minor league rehab start and he punched the wall or whatever it was, and he came back for a couple starts and got hurt again. What are you doing at a biking? It was a dirt bike, too. What are you doing with all that right now as you're trying to work your way back? I mean, are you trying to retire? Or are you trying to not play in the major leagues just to collect your money at this point? Yeah, you might be right. I don't know what the price will be for the Red Sox at this point with all the injuries he's gone through.
They're not going to give up.
They're not going to get much. They're not going to get much at this point. So I don't know.
They need to get rid of that contract.
They might just, they might have to try something at this point. I don't know. It's going to be very difficult for that kind of thing. The Red Sox finally were able to purge off a lot of the other bad contracts they had from 3-4 years ago. Finally, just now. I don't know if there's any of those left, but yeah, they're paying a lot right now. And if they want to pay Devers and they want to pay, if they have any shot of even paying Bogarts, if there's a small chance, they're going to have to try something to move that contract, but they're not going to get much.
I'd like to thank, obviously, Mark Pattison for joining us today early in the show at 9:30. He was fantastic. Former receiver, Emmy Award winner for Searching for the Summit. He was fantastic. He really was. Definitely we'll get him on, and I'll talk to him off air. And I'd like to thank Kevin Ray, the voice of the Suns and the Cowboys. He was fantastic as well. Thank you for Jeff. Thank you for, all the craziness with Kenny and the B for calling the show. We really appreciate all the fans that stay tuned and listen to the show and give us their takes of what they believe is going on in sports. Thank you to everybody that really supports what we do here at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network and how far and we're going to go in the future. So thank you. We'll be back on Thursday at 9 p.m. I'll be back on Thursday at 10:30 p.m., 10:45 p.m. After the event that I'll be hosting. So that's it. Speedy, you have anything to say before we go?
No, I do not.
Happy birthday to your grandmother, by the way.
Yes, thank you. Yep, 80th birthday, 8/8 for my grandmother.
Just don't drink and throw up, okay, Grandma?
No, she doesn't.
Not like the speedster.
Yeah, that was a bad experience, but I'm much better now. Thank you.
Congratulations. Again, we'll be back Thursday. Good night, everybody.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.